What happens when a seemingly perfect relationship unravels in the most unexpected way, revealing a family's secrets and a partner's true nature? My name is Claire B. Chat, and I'm 48 years old. I've always been dedicated to my career and cherished my independence, never finding the need for a relationship. My days were fulfilled with hobbies like reading and watching movies, and I had never once felt the void that others seem to fear in their single lives. But everything changed one spring day in April when a business connection, Pau Adams, unexpectedly proposed an introduction. "Miss B. Chat, I would like to introduce you to someone. What do you think?" Pau asked one afternoon. Initially hesitant, I gave in after his insistence and agreed to meet his son, Chad. We were the same age, and though he had almost married a few times before, he had always remained single. Chad's charm was undeniable, polite, respectful, and kind. I was intrigued, thinking that perhaps this could work. So after a few meetings, I suggested that we start dating. Both Chad and his father were pleased, and everything appeared to move smoothly. But of course, things didn't stay perfect for long. About 5 weeks into our relationship, Chad and I were on our third date. He smiled and said, "We're already like a couple, aren't we?" It seemed like a simple, sweet comment. He had traded in his usual formal attire for a relaxed jacket, and I'd gone for a casual pants look. Even though we were both older, we felt young again, enjoying each other's company. But then, something felt off. Chad began making comments that seemed condescending. At one point, he took me to a somewhat upscale restaurant and said, "Probably you wouldn't normally get to come to a place like this, right? It must be unusual for you." I was taken aback by the statement. Was he insinuating that I didn't belong in such a setting? I tried to brush it off, but as the date went on, there were more moments like this little remarks that chipped away at my confidence. It was as though he was subtly putting me down, implying that I wasn't on his level. At first, I dismissed it, thinking maybe I was just overreacting, but deep down, I started to question his intentions. As the weeks went on, the signs became clearer. His behavior, his disregard for my thoughts, and the constant comparisons to his own world began to erode the excitement I had initially felt. And then came the breaking point, the moment I realized how much I had overlooked in the name of convenience. It was at a family gathering, one where I was meeting Chad's parents for the first time. I had put on my best clothes, styling my hair with care, trying to make a good impression. But as soon as I walked into the room to greet them, Chad's mother, Barb, greeted me with a loud, mocking laugh before splashing champagne in my face. The shock of the cold liquid hitting my skin was nothing compared to the humiliation I felt. Chad, instead of being concerned for me, laughed too, joining in with his mother's antics. I stood there, stunned, as I realized that all my efforts to make a good impression, all the planning I had done to ensure that our relationship would work, were meaningless. I had been reduced to a joke in their eyes. Chad's laughter rang in my ears, and in that moment, I finally saw how deep his loyalty to his mother ran, and how little I meant to him. The words came out of my mouth before I could stop them. "I'll terminate our contract with your company," I said, finally standing up for myself. "What?" Chad and Barb exclaimed in disbelief, their faces full of shock. They had no idea what had just happened, how everything had turned, how their disregard for me had pushed me to the edge. Before they could say more, Chad's father, Mr. Adams, appeared, his face unreadable. "Mr. Adams," I started, speaking calmly but with clear resolve, "you mentioned before that you plan to retire soon and hand over your duties to your son. Under these circumstances, it seems only reasonable to reconsider how much trust we can place in your future leadership. Your son's actions, his complete disregard for me, have shown me that he's not someone I can rely on." The words hung in the air, heavy with the finality of my decision. After speaking, I turned and walked away, leaving the stunned faces behind me. I had done what I had needed to do for my own peace of mind. They needed to face the consequences of their actions, and I wasn't going to be the one to save them. I later realized that I had made the right choice. In all of this, I had neglected the one person who mattered the most, myself. My years of independence and my hard-earned career had made me who I was, and I wasn't going to let anyone, especially not Chad and his overbearing family, take that away from me. As I walked out of that house, I left behind the expectations, the lies, and the manipulation. I was free, and I had no intentions of ever returning to that world. I could only respond with an ambiguous smile to his words. In fact, this restaurant is one of my favorites, and I had just visited it with a friend 3 days ago, but it would have been cruel to embarrass him on the spot, so I didn't tell him the truth. A Mike I knew nodded at my signal and pretended to be ignorant. While sitting, I noticed the watch on Chad's wrist. It wasn't a top-of-the-line item, but it was decent. That's a different watch from before. The color is lovely, and it suits you, I complimented. Embarrassed, Chad took off the watch to show it to me. Mistaking my interest, he seemed to offer it out of kindness. Since I wasn't deeply interested, I briefly checked it and returned it, but he insisted again. Feel free to take a closer look. It's not often you see something this high-end, right? No need to be shy. My reaction was not so much out of politeness as it was just a lack of interest in men's watches. Though I agreed to take a closer look when he insisted, I felt a bit perplexed. To me, a watch is just an accessory, and I think checking the time on a smartphone is sufficient. Many of the older people I work with wear them too, so I actually see them quite often. Thank you for showing it to me. It's nice to have something you like, I said. Chad slightly pouted and surreptitiously followed my belongings with his gaze. What caught his interest was a bag that I am particularly fond of. This bag was specially made for me at a favorite workshop, reflecting the craftsman's skill and my taste. It's very practical, if a bit pricey, but it seemed cheap to Chad. I was wondering, don't you have a proper bag instead? I think you should have something more prestigious. The bag was custom made at an Italian bag store and naturally doesn't have a brand logo. In fact, the craftsman's workshop logo is branded on the bottom of the bag. However, I prefer simple designs above all, so I asked to hide it. It would be difficult for someone not accustomed to women's bags to judge its price just by looking, but I couldn't help but be puzzled by his consistently superior tone. Sometimes I dismissed it, accepting that he's a sheltered son who doesn't know the world, but the feeling of discomfort didn't easily go away. At one point, I thought about reconsidering marriage, but since we'd only met 3 times, it seemed too hasty to decide on a separation, so I decided to wait and see how things would unfold. Since then, we have continued dating. Chad does show some immaturity at times, but he is essentially an honest person. He no longer exhibits the unnatural behavior he showed before. No one is perfect from the start. If you have patience and gradually find harmony, love will eventually grow, said an older female celebrity on a show I watched for distraction. I found some truth in those words. The following week, we went to a famous hotel buffet for our 5th date. Strangely, Chad piled 3 or 4 servings of food onto his plate. Are you sure it's okay to take so much? It would be a waste if you can't finish it, I lightly commented, to which he suddenly burst into laughter. Wondering what was so funny, he said, "A waste? Claire, are you still talking like someone poor? It's okay to take this much. It doesn't matter if I throw it away if I can't eat it all." I made a sour face. It seemed he completely failed to understand that wasting food not only incurs costs, but also discomforts other customers. The issue isn't just about money. It's about resources and the environment. Aren't you aware of the concept of food waste? It's also inconsiderate to other customers, and eating disorderly isn't good, I said, my voice carrying more sternness than usual. In response, Chad suddenly shrank back as he poked at his pasta with a fork and muttered, "I'm sorry. Please don't be angry. My mom said you might be marrying me for money, and I just reacted without thinking." The word mom lingered in my ears, and I inadvertently repeated it. Referring to one's mother as mom at nearly 50 years old is uncommon and suggested a peculiarity about his family environment. As the date neared its end, with this discomfort in mind, Chad drove me home. As I was getting out of the car, he grabbed my hand to stop me. "Miss B. Chat, even though I am who I am, would you marry me? Even if not right away, being engaged is fine. Your fiancé can wait as long as it takes." I was taken aback by Chad's sudden forwardness, but soon I began to feel genuine joy from his actions. Though there are many concerning aspects about Chad, his courtship brought pure joy. I considered that the areas he lacked could be improved upon after marriage, nurturing him into a loving husband. 3 months had passed since Chad and I first met, and I felt that it was the right time to take the next step in our relationship. With teary eyes, I said to him, "Let's grow together by complementing each other. We both have flaws and differences, so let's talk things through and resolve them." I felt a deep sense of emotion as I shared this vision for our future. But as soon as I agreed to move forward, Chad once again revealed his troubling side. "Let's start preparing for married life. First, you should quit your job, take care of the home, and learn housework from my mom," he suggested with a smile. The joy I had felt disappeared instantly, replaced by rising anger. I stood my ground more firmly than usual, replying, "Don't be so presumptuous. If that's your attitude, then marriage is off the table. Goodbye." Chad was stunned into silence. Without saying anything more, I got out of the car and walked back into my house. Although I had decided to distance myself, I reluctantly agreed to meet him after receiving a message over the weekend, insisting that we talk. The weekend arrived quickly, and Chad was already waiting at our meeting spot. As I approached, he immediately stood up and apologized deeply. "I'm really sorry about last time. My friends told me I was being too controlling, and I took their advice too seriously. They even scolded me for thinking it was okay to act like that," he said, his energy deflated. His apology began to melt some of my anger, though I still felt disappointed. I was ready to click my tongue in frustration, but eventually, I came to terms with it. Chad is straightforward, sometimes struggling to distinguish between jokes and seriousness. He's easily influenced and somewhat indecisive, but I reminded myself that no one is perfect from the start. "Just remember, we're getting engaged after all," I said with a wry smile. Hearing that, Chad's face brightened immediately. A month passed in a whirlwind of emotions and ups and downs, and it was finally time to meet each other's families to announce our marriage. The first visit was to Chad's family home. Although I had a professional relationship with Mr. Adams, this was my first time visiting his home, and I felt nervous. Chad, as always, was kind and gentle, but there was something slightly off about him that morning. I thought he might just be nervous, but it seemed there was something more going on. About my mom," he began. I braced myself, thinking of the potential tension that could arise between a daughter-in-law and mother-in-law, but I had heard only good things about his mother, who was known to be hardworking and kind. I believed that if I spoke honestly, she would understand. Unfortunately, I was wrong. The moment I stepped into the room where we were to greet each other, I was startled by a splash of liquid hitting my face. My eyes stung painfully, and a strong, irritating scent filled my nose, making me cough uncontrollably. I panicked, trying to figure out what had just happened. "How about that, you poor thing?" I heard a mocking voice say. "I've rid you of the poor smell, so you should be grateful." My face burned as I realized the liquid that had splashed onto me was champagne. I was confused and in shock, unable to understand why I was being treated this way. "What are you doing, Barb?" Mr. Adams exclaimed in shock. It was then that everything became clear. Chad's mother, Barb, had thrown champagne in my face. It seemed that the earlier mocking voice had indeed come from her. It dawned on me that Chad's dismissive attitude towards me as poor might have been influenced by his mother's views. This treatment was not just a reflection of Chad's behavior, but of the environment he had been raised in, where I was never truly seen as good enough. "Ha-ha! What's the matter, Claire? You're all wet. Funny, isn't it?" "Go, Mom!" Chad laughed loudly. At that moment, I realized that everything up to this point had been in vain. Only emptiness piled up in my heart. "I will therefore terminate our contract with your company." "What?" At my statement, Chad and Barb both exclaimed in surprise. They hurriedly looked at each other and seemed to be discussing something in whispers. Whether it was about our business dealings or something else, I was not involved as an outsider. I merely speculated about their conversation. At that moment, there was one person who remained quiet, Mr. Adams, who, without a word, looked pale and wide-eyed. I turned to him again, thanked him, and began to speak. First of all, Mr. Adams, I would like to thank you for your cooperation so far. It must be due to the condition we agreed upon that such an incident did not occur before then. When I turned to speak to Barb and Chad, Barb looked at Mr. Adams with a doubtful expression and then stared at me sternly. Meanwhile, Chad watched Barb's reaction while looking at me. I continued quietly. This may be an unexpected statement for them, but I hope they listen carefully. One condition of accepting the matchmaking was that I would not reveal I am the president of a company until the marriage was decided. I thought my title might get in the way. My connection with Mr. Adams was born out of significant business transactions that I had built over the years. While focusing on my business, I picked up my business card. Naturally, it listed my company name and position. Those not involved in management might not know the details of our transactions, but they would at least understand the title. Hello again, Mrs. Barb. Thank you for all your help so far. This is my position. I have been working with your husband's company for over 10 years. Currently, my company is probably your biggest client. I wonder what percentage of your company sales we represent. When I handed over my business card, Chad turned pale with surprise. He worked in his father's company, and seeing my company name should have made it clear who I was to Mr. Adams. I am not just any business owner. I am the owner of one of his most important business partners. Therefore, I wanted my profession hidden initially to truly assess Chad's character. When choosing a lifelong partner, I wanted to see the real person, not just superficial behavior. I cannot afford a contrived attitude because it could affect the fate of a parent company. Thus, I was introduced merely as someone I met through work. I wore fake glasses and significantly altered my makeup and hairstyle for our dates. While the disguise served as a temporary amusement, in retrospect, it was a waste of time. I'm sorry, Mr. Adams, but I must decline this proposal. This concerns marriage, and also, we need to pause our transactions to reassess the situation. I took a deep breath and calmly stated my position before sitting down to face Mr. Adams. This is where we stand, I said, maintaining my composure. I began explaining the situation as clearly and calmly as possible, watching Mr. Adams' expression change as he processed my words. His face turned pale, and he stuttered, "The transactions are affected. That can't be right." But his reaction felt forced, and I remained firm in my decision. I shook my head gently, signaling that this was final. Wanting to ensure that my decision wasn't based on fleeting emotions, I continued in a measured tone. Mr. Adams, you mentioned before about planning to retire soon and handing over your responsibilities to your son. In light of that, it makes sense to reconsider how trustworthy a future business partner can be. Perhaps there was an intention to maintain our relationship through your son's marriage to me, but unfortunately, this plan has backfired. I paused for a moment, allowing my words to settle, then continued. I started my company right after university, along with some friends. Over 20 years have passed, and I've led the business as its president throughout that time. As I've told you before, I've built a strong, lasting relationship with Mr. Adams's company over more than a decade. My company, which is run with a female perspective, has grown significantly and is recognized for its unique approach. As a result, our business with your company has increased. Mr. Adams looked increasingly uneasy, but I pressed on. However, recently, there have been discussions within my company about whether we should consider other business partners. The timing of this proposal of an arranged marriage is suspicious. Mr. Adams, you must have sensed some change within our company. It wasn't exactly a secret. Chad shifted uncomfortably, glancing back and forth between me and Mr. Adams. Despite being an insider, he seemed unaware of the current issues within his own company. I continued. In fact, we were already reviewing whether to continue our transactions with your company. I've heard that your company is facing significant management difficulties. Are you aware of that? With contracts coming to an end and your company's current status, this information is crucial. Barb looked stunned and frantically shook Mr. Adams's arm. "What does that mean?" she asked, her voice trembling. Mr. Adams wiped sweat from his brow, looking flustered and anxious. It seemed that the company's issues had not been discussed within the family. Chad's confused glances at me and his father only confirmed his lack of understanding about the situation. I took note of this as I continued. "Mr. Adams, it was you who suggested I meet with Chad, leading to this moment. Perhaps you thought this marriage proposal could help stabilize your company's future. It seems your priority was to maintain our business relationship, regardless of the personal cost." Barb's hands trembled as she processed my words, her lips quivering. "Mr. Adams' company is struggling with management issues," I said, and Barb's face showed clear discomfort as I continued. "But Barb's company is facing even more significant problems. Once praised for its quality and speed, Mr. Adams' products are now technologically outdated, and competitors have overtaken the market. The manufacturing processes are inefficient, cost reduction efforts have stalled, and prices have become unreasonable. Furthermore, employees are under unacceptable pressure, working under modern labor conditions with shortened deadlines, which only worsens the company's reputation." I leaned forward slightly. Continuing to work with a company like this risks tarnishing the reputation of any business partner. Even a company with a long history faces challenges when its structures are outdated, and turnover rates among younger employees are high. As a result, Mr. Adams' company's market share has steadily declined, and its performance continues to spiral downward. Given these circumstances, it was only natural for us to explore other, more stable companies for our transactions. The silence in the room was thick as my words settled in. I could tell that both Mr. Adams and Barb were starting to grasp the full extent of the situation. "How dare you threaten to cut off business based on personal feelings? What a despicable act! Are you blackmailing us? This is the worst. Don't think such behavior is acceptable," Barb exclaimed, outraged. Despite her actions being the cause, I was surprised by her accusatory behavior. The lack of an initial apology spoke volumes about her character. Before I could point this out, Mr. Adams shouted vehemently, "Silence! This is all your fault!" I swallowed what I was about to say. Indeed, it is likely that Mr. Adams, not I, is the most damaged party here. The unexpected fallout from his wife's inappropriate behavior would have been unforeseen for him, who had hoped for stability. All of this stems from Mr. Adams' actions to faithfully adhere to our agreement, but in reality, keeping it a secret from Chad alone would have been sufficient. He should have informed his wife beforehand. As a result, I am relieved that I didn't have to welcome such a problem person as my mother-in-law. The sight of Chad was pitiful. He was pale and trembling, tightly gripping Barb's hand. It is sad to see a 48-year-old man still needing his mother's hand. Seeing his state, I couldn't help but give him a cold look. "It's impossible that you, carrying such a cheap-looking bag, could be a president. Moreover, you complained about food waste and acted like you were poor. You are lying even about being my father's business partner. How disgraceful!" Chad vehemently accused me. He might be trying to blame me, but he is mistaken. I am not interested in branded goods and prefer to use high-quality domestic leather products. Also, my criticism of wasting a large amount of ordered food was not because I am poor, but simply because it is inappropriate behavior. There can be no calculated acting in this regard. As for this bag, it is custom-made from a workshop I frequent. Anyone knowledgeable would recognize its quality immediately, but it seems none of you are interested in the quality of leather. This bag is priced higher than commercial brands, I explained. Suddenly, Barb stared at my shoes and bag with astonishment, then quickly averted her gaze, embarrassed. Clearly, it's a matter of those who know understand. I continued further. Moreover, ordering a large amount of food and not being able to finish it is not only wasteful, but also disrespectful to the restaurant. It is unreasonable and inappropriate behavior. Furthermore, the fact that I am your father's business partner is true. What would it mean if the presidents of companies doing business with each other did not know one another? Chad seemed dissatisfied and unconvinced by this discussion. Mr. Adams frowned at his son's behavior. When we confirmed that we knew each other, Chad looked down without a word. His clinging to Barb appeared extremely childish and out of place for his age. Faced with his immaturity, I couldn't help feeling how disappointed I was. If your company abandons us, we will be on the brink of bankruptcy. Please forgive us. Mr. Adams began to apologize profusely. This clear statement from him seemed to finally make Barb realize the situation. Realizing the gravity of his actions, Chad turned pale and began to tremble. "Mom," he said with tears in his eyes, clinging to Barb in his distress. However, Barb was unable to respond in any way. Witnessing this scene, I breathed a deep sigh of relief from the bottom of my heart. I deeply regretted ever considering sharing my life with such a person, thinking that because he was honest, I could correct him and make things better. Now it seems like a naive thought in retrospect. I'm so sorry, Mr. Adams repeated his apologies over and over without actually proposing how to address the situation or how to make them reflect on their actions. This could easily lead to severing ties on an emotional basis. Therefore, I was forced to make specific remarks about the engagement. Let's address our engagement. I cannot consider marrying someone whose mother behaves so rudely. Moreover, he did not try to stop his mother and even laughed along with her. I hope you understand why the engagement should be called off, I said. Mr. Adams listened, repeating words of affirmation. I continued the conversation. Thank you for understanding. Until yesterday, I believed in Chad's potential for improvement and proceeded with the engagement, but now I feel relieved that our relationship has been dissolved. Furthermore, I provided specific examples of Chad's behavior. For instance, his frequent quoting of his mother's opinions, saying Mom said so, and then his behavior of calling his mother Mom at nearly 50 years of age. He often used his mother's opinions as a shield to justify his improper behavior. However, his weakness became apparent as soon as I pointed out these issues. He quickly became disheartened. There were countless examples of these behaviors. Mr. Adams was astonished, his mouth agape. Barb also showed embarrassment. However, Chad himself seemed not to understand what part of his behavior was problematic. Regarding calling off the engagement, is there any fault on my part? I asked. Mr. Adams shook his head almost imperceptibly. His action seemed pitiful. I paused to calm myself and took a deep breath. I will divorce my wife. Chad will also have to move out with her. The company's operations will be taken over by competent staff, so please do not abandon us. Help us! Mr. Adams began to declare his intention to divorce Barb, making it clear that he understood the gravity of the situation. What? That's not possible. I can't manage my life without this marriage, Barb cried out in shock. After that, Chad and Barb both raised their voices at Mr. Adams. Why didn't you tell us beforehand? I am innocent. Why am I being kicked out? The problem is only with Mom. I am not involved. Their simultaneous protests stirred up the room. After everything that had happened, I finally let out a deep sigh, feeling a mix of frustration and relief. Well, as you wish. Thank you for your time. I'll be leaving now, I said, addressing Mr. Adams before swiftly exiting. I had to go home and get my high-quality clothes to the dry cleaners before the champagne stains became permanent. Chad, now silent and teary-eyed, seemed to accept the situation. Barb, on the other hand, tried to argue, but was silenced by a sharp rebuke from Mr. Adams. Despite this, she still looked dissatisfied, her determination clear in her expression. 5 months after that unpleasant encounter with the Adams family, as I had expected, Mr. Adams resigned from his position. It wasn't just a retirement, it was a resignation, as he took responsibility for the company's declining performance. The downfall was largely due to the severing of the contract with my company. A former employee took over as president, and the shift away from family management was a breath of fresh air. External evaluations improved, and the new president was proactive in developing new products, with positive results beginning to show. It seemed likely that we would resume business with the company soon. Meanwhile, Mr. Adams and Barb officially divorced. As anticipated, Chad moved out with Barb and started a new life with her. However, rumors of daily conflicts between them soon emerged. Their once close relationship, I realized, had been largely built on financial comfort. After being expelled from his father's company, Chad quickly fell into unemployment. Unable to bear his financial dependence, Barb eventually left him with Mr. Adams and disappeared. I heard she now lives alone in an old, low-end apartment, mourning her fate. Despite once boasting of her lavish lifestyle, Barb's behavior had alienated those around her. Now, she was a lonely figure with neither helpers nor friends. A year after Mr. Adams' retirement, I had a chance encounter with the former president while visiting his company. I was surprised to run into him. "I deeply regret the inconvenience I caused before," he said, offering a sincere apology. He had generously transferred half of his property to Barb, but the real reason for her financial struggles stemmed from Chad's endless demands and Barb's continued extravagant spending. Unfortunately, that was a result of their own decisions, and sympathy was hard to come by. Mr. Adams had initially planned to keep Chad at a distance, but when he realized that his nearly 50-year-old son didn't even know how to boil water, he reluctantly took him in. They now lived together, with Mr. Adams making the household decisions. Chad, who had relied entirely on Barb, had never learned basic life skills. "I feel like I failed as a father and a husband," Mr. Adams admitted. "This is the misfortune I created for myself. Although it's too late to fix everything, I am reflecting on my mistakes. I even regret some of my actions toward Barb. Thankfully, the company didn't go bankrupt, and I'm relieved." As for Chad, facing challenges with daily chores and part-time jobs, he often broke down in tears. I could only hope he would eventually become a better person, but I had no interest in being involved in his life any longer. 3 years have passed since then, and my company has flourished. My performance has improved, and the stock price has risen steadily. As for my personal life, I've long since decided that marriage is no longer something I seek. I explained everything to my parents when the engagement was called off, and they supported my decision to stay single rather than remain with someone like Chad. Now, my parents are even stronger supporters of my work. I throw myself into my career and have taken up new hobbies to enrich my life. Although I was once content with indoor activities, I recently decided to try exercising at the gym. I'm starting to see the results, with muscles forming and a newfound confidence. My subordinates admire me, and I can't deny that it feels a little gratifying. I've come to realize that happiness is something you create for yourself. I no longer seek happiness from anyone else, it's something I build on my own. If I were to fall in love again, it would likely be toward the end of my life, when I could afford to throw everything away for love. But that's a concern for another day. For now, my days are fulfilling, and I am happy. What do you do when you realize the man you were about to marry isn't just not right for you, but he and his family have turned your life into a mockery? How do you walk away from years of preparation and expectation? Claire's story is one of awakening, strength, and ultimately, liberation. For years, she had built a successful career, valuing her independence over the traditional idea of marriage. But when business connections turned personal, she found herself in a relationship with Chad, whose charm was initially undeniable. Yet, what started as a sweet connection soon turned sour as Chad's condescending remarks and manipulative behavior began to surface. The final straw came when Claire was humiliated by Chad's mother at a family gathering. Instead of supporting her, Chad joined in the ridicule. At that moment, Claire realized her worth was more important than any relationship. She made the brave decision to walk away from both the relationship and the business ties that had kept her tethered to Chad and his toxic family. Her decision was one of empowerment, showing her that self-respect always comes first. In relationships, there are times when the signs become too loud to ignore. Claire's decision to walk away wasn't an easy one, but it was necessary. She had spent years building a career she was proud of, and the last thing she needed was to be treated as an afterthought by someone who claimed to love her. Chad's failure to recognize the value in her professional achievements, his blatant disregard for her dignity, and his mother's malicious actions left Claire with no choice but to step away. She was right to do so. Love should uplift, not demean. And in her case, Chad's behavior made it clear that he wasn't ready to be her partner. As for the business, her cutting ties sent a strong message. Integrity and respect come first. It wasn't just a personal decision, it was a professional one as well. Claire chose herself and her business over a toxic situation, and she was stronger for it. Do you think Claire made the right call walking away from both Chad and the business? How would you have handled a situation where your relationship began to affect your professional life? Share your thoughts and experiences with us. Sometimes the hardest decision is to let go of something that isn't serving us, even when it looks good on the surface. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your insights in the comments below. Stay tuned for more empowering stories of resilience and self-empowerment.
The sound of shattering glass downstairs makes my hands freeze over my laptop keyboard. I know exactly what's happening. Another fight between my son and his wife. Their voices rising through the old heating vents of our family home like angry ghosts. I'm Ariel, and I've spent 30 years in this house on Willow Lane. Now I share it with my son Mark and his wife Olivia, who used to be my ex-husband's assistant before she became my daughter-in-law. Funny how life works out sometimes. You never listen. Olivia's voice pierces through the floor. This house is suffocating me. My fingers curl into fists. The nerve of that woman, complaining about my home, the home where I raised Mark alone after Daniel left, where every scratch on the hardwood tells a story of our life together. Keep your voice down, Mark pleads. Mom's working upstairs? Of course, your precious mother. Always your mother first. I should turn up my music, drown them out like I usually do. Instead, I find myself moving to the heating vent, pressing my ear against the metal grate. That's not fair, Mark says. You knew what this house meant to us when you moved in. What it means to her, you mean? God forbid anyone suggests changes around here. We're living in a museum to your childhood, Mark. Another crash. This time I recognize the sound. The blue ceramic vase that sat on our entry table for decades. My throat tightens. Jesus, Olivia, that was Mom's favorite. Oh, please, it was ugly anyway. This whole place needs updating. We could sell it, buy something modern. My blood runs cold. Sell my house over my dead body. We're not selling. Mark's voice hardens. This discussion is over. Like all our discussions lately. You know what? I'm going to Karen's. Don't wait up. The front door slams so hard the family photos rattle on my office wall. I hear Mark's heavy footsteps, followed by the gentle sweep of a broom against broken ceramic. My phone buzzes, a text from Karen, my closest friend. Heads up, Hurricane Olivia heading my way. Again. I type back. Thanks for the warning. Blue vase casualty this time. That bitch, Karen replies. Want me to poison her wine? Despite everything, I smile. Karen's dark humor has been my lifeline these past 2 years, ever since Mark announced his engagement to the woman who helped destroy my marriage. Downstairs, Mark is still sweeping. I should go help him, comfort him. But I remain frozen, remembering another night of broken things. The night Daniel told me he was leaving. He'd been so calm about it, explaining how he and his young assistant had connected on a deeper level. Now, here I am, watching history repeat itself through my son's eyes. My laptop screen has gone dark. The article I was working on, Building Resilient Family Bonds, for the local paper's lifestyle section, seems laughably ironic now. I close the laptop and move to my window seat, the one overlooking our maple-lined street. Olivia's red sports car, Daniel's wedding gift to her, screeches away from the curb. 2 houses down, I see our neighbor Ethan pause his gardening to watch her go. He catches my eye in the window and shakes his head slightly. He's witnessed enough of these scenes to understand. The sound of breaking glass echoes in my memory, mixing with Olivia's words about selling my home, my sanctuary, my legacy to Mark. A familiar anger burns in my chest, but this time it's different, sharper, more focused. I've spent 2 years trying to accept her, to keep the peace for Mark's sake. But now, I pull out my phone again and text Karen. About that wine. Let's talk. Sometimes the only way to protect what you love is to become the very thing you fear. I've learned that lesson before. Time to put it into practice. 3 days after the vase incident, I'm pruning my roses when Daniel's black Mercedes pulls into the driveway. My garden shears snap shut with more force than necessary, severing a healthy stem along with the dead one. Still butchering those poor plants, I see. His voice carries that familiar note of amusement that used to make me smile. Now it just makes my fingers tighten around the shears. What are you doing here, Daniel? He holds up a manila envelope. Bringing the papers Mark asked for. Something about the house insurance. Of course, Mark mentioned needing those. What he didn't mention was asking his father to deliver them. I'll take them. I reach out, but Daniel doesn't release the envelope immediately. You look good, Ariel. His eyes drift to the house. Place looks exactly the same. Some of us value stability. The words come out sharper than intended, and I watch his expression shift. Mom? Mark appears on the front porch, Olivia close behind him. Dad, you made it. The pieces click together. This isn't just about insurance papers. We're having lunch, Mark announces, his voice carrying that forced cheerfulness I've come to dread. All of us, as a family. Olivia slides her arm through Mark's, beaming. She's wearing the pearl necklace Daniel gave her for the wedding, the one that used to belong to his mother. My mother-in-law had promised it to me once. Surprise, she chirps. I thought it would be nice to clear the air after, well, you know. I do know. She wants to play happy families after destroying my vase and threatening to sell my home. The garden shears feel dangerous in my hand. I've made reservations at Bellamy's, Mark adds quickly. Your favorite place, Mom? Was my favorite place. Before Daniel took Olivia there while they were sneaking around behind my back. I have plans with Karen, I lie. I called Karen, Olivia interjects. She said you're free. Of course she did. My best friend, outmaneuvered by my son's wife. I'll need to have a word with Karen about loyalty. Please, Mom. Mark's eyes, so like his father's, plead with me. Just lunch. The 4 of us sit at a corner table at Bellamy's 30 minutes later. I order a martini, extra dirty. I'll need it. So, Daniel clears his throat. Mark tells me you're still writing for the paper? Among other things. I take a long sip. How's the accounting firm? Expanding. We just opened a new branch in... Oh, tell them about the promotion. Olivia interrupts, touching Daniel's arm with familiar ease. Daniel's made me head of client relations. The olive in my martini suddenly looks like a perfect projectile. That's wonderful news, Mark says, but his eyes dart to me. It is, I agree, my voice honey-sweet. Though I'm surprised you have time for work, Olivia, with all your plans for renovating my house. The table goes quiet. Olivia's smile tightens. Our house, she corrects gently, and I just think some updates would increase its value. Its value to whom? The martini glass clinks as I set it down too hard. The potential buyers you're so eager to find? Mom, Mark warns. No, let's be honest for once. I lean forward. That's what this lunch is really about, isn't it? Softening me up for the big pitch? What's next? Daniel offering to be the listing agent. Daniel shifts uncomfortably. Bingo. Actually, he starts, but Olivia cuts him off. We're pregnant. The words hit like a physical blow. Mark looks as stunned as I feel. Clearly this wasn't part of the planned script. 8 weeks, Olivia continues, her hand moving to her still flat stomach. We need more space, Ariel. A nursery, a fresh start. my grandson or granddaughter, in my house, or rather, in whatever modern monstrosity Olivia plans to drive me from. I stand up, my chair scraping against the floor. Congratulations, excuse me. In the restaurant's elegant bathroom, I grip the marble counter and stare at my reflection. Behind me, the door opens. Olivia? I was going to tell Mark tonight, she says softly, but I thought you should know why this matters so much to me. To us. Us. Always us. The way she says it reminds me of Daniel's words years ago. Olivia and I, we're an us now. I turn to face her, and for the first time, I smile genuinely. Because now I know exactly what I need to do. You're right, I tell her. Everything needs to change. Starting with you, I add silently. The layoff notice sits on my desk like a loaded gun. After 15 years at the paper, they're restructuring. Karen texts that half the editorial department got the same email. I should feel devastated, but all I can think about is Olivia's smug face at breakfast this morning, touching her still flat stomach while discussing nursery colors. My phone rings. It's Mark. Mom, have you checked your email? Just did. I keep my voice steady. I'll be fine. That's the thing. He hesitates. Olivia got laid off too, from Dad's firm. The coincidence is too perfect. I sit up straighter. Daniel laid her off? Budget cuts, apparently. She's pretty upset. Of course she is. Her perfect plan is unraveling. The timing's terrible with the baby and everything. Mark continues. I was thinking, since you're both home now. I close my eyes. No, Mom, please, just until she finds something new. She can help around the house, keep you company. Keep me company? I laugh, but there's no humor in it. In my own home? Our home, he corrects gently, echoing Olivia's words from the restaurant. Please, Mom, for me? That's how I end up sharing my kitchen with Olivia 3 days later, watching her reorganize my cabinets while humming to herself. She's moved all my spices to different shelves, claiming it's more efficient. The cinnamon's always gone next to the nutmeg, I say, gripping my coffee mug. For 30 years. Change is good. She reaches for another shelf. Oh, what's this? She's found the old recipe box, the one with Daniel's mother's handwriting. Before I can stop her, she's opening it. These are gorgeous. We should digitize them, create a family cookbook. Put it back. She blinks at my tone. I just thought, that's the problem. You're always just thinking about how to improve things that aren't yours to improve. The recipe box trembles slightly in her hands. I'm trying to help, Ariel, to be part of this family. By taking my job, my house, my son. Your job? Her eyes narrow. What are you implying? Quite a coincidence, don't you think? Both of us losing our jobs the same week you announce your pregnancy? She sets the recipe box down carefully. You think Daniel fired me because of you? I think nothing happens by accident where you're concerned. The kitchen door swings open. Mark stands there, looking between us. Everything okay? Perfect, Olivia says, her voice wobbling. Your mother was just explaining how I orchestrated my own layoff to, what exactly? Force my way into living here? That's not what No, please. She presses a hand to her stomach. Tell Mark how I'm manipulating everyone, how I stole his father, and now I'm stealing his childhood home. Olivia, Mark starts, but she's already pushing past him. I need air, she announces, heading for the front door. Mark turns to me, his expression a perfect mirror of his father's disappointment. Really, Mom? She's playing you, I snap, just like she played your father. She's carrying my child, and that makes her immune to criticism? The front door slams. Through the kitchen window, I watch Olivia hurry across the lawn. She stops at the sidewalk, one hand still on her stomach, the other wiping her eyes. Ethan, my neighbor, is getting his mail. He says something to Olivia, who shakes her head. Then he looks toward my window, catching my eye. His expression is unreadable. I know this is hard, Mark says quietly, but she's trying. And that's my baby she's carrying. Your grandchild. Can't you at least try, too? He leaves me alone in the kitchen. The recipe box sits where Olivia left it, slightly askew. I open it, finding the card for Daniel's mother's apple pie, the one Olivia always claimed was her specialty at family gatherings. My phone buzzes. A text from Karen. Heard about the layoff. Wine tonight? I look out the window again. Olivia's gone, but Ethan's still there, pretending to check his mail while watching my house. He's worked in human resources for 20 years. Maybe he'd know if layoffs at 2 different companies could really be coincidental. I text Karen back. Rain check. Have some research to do. Then I take a photo of the recipe card and send it to Mark with a simple message. Ask your wife to make this for dinner. Grandmother's special recipe. See what she says. Sometimes the truth hides in the smallest details, and I'm done being the only one who sees them. The real estate brochure falls from between Olivia's pregnancy journal, scattering glossy photos of modern homes across my bedroom floor. I shouldn't have been snooping, but something about her whispered phone calls in the garden drew me to search her things while she was at her prenatal appointment. My hands shake as I gather the papers. 3 properties, all newly built, all with perfect for growing families, splashed across their descriptions. On the back of one, Olivia's handwriting, possible comps for Willow Lane listing. The front door slams downstairs. Ariel, you home? I stuff the brochures under my sweater just as Olivia appears in my doorway, glowing with that particular radiance that makes Mark look at her like she's made of gold. What are you doing in my room? Her voice stays sweet, but her eyes narrow. My room, I correct her. My house, remember? She rests one hand on her slightly swelling belly. The doctor says stress isn't good for the baby. Neither is lying to my son. I don't know what you mean. She moves closer, and I catch a whiff of Daniel's favorite perfume on her. But since you're here, I wanted to discuss some ideas for the nursery. This room has the best light. My room. The baby needs space, Ariel. We all do. Surely you can understand that. The brochures crinkle against my ribs as I step around her. I understand perfectly. I find Mark in his home office, focused on his laptop. He doesn't look up when I enter, probably expecting Olivia with another paint sample or nursery design. Your wife's been house hunting. That gets his attention. What? I pull out the brochures, letting them fall onto his keyboard. She's already pricing out our home's value. Mom, these could be for... Read the notes on the back. He does. His face doesn't change, but his shoulders tense. I'll talk to her. Like you talked to her about the recipe? Did she ever make that pie? She wasn't feeling well. She never feels well when proof might expose her lies. Mark pushes back from his desk. Stop, just stop. You're seeing conspiracies everywhere. Because they're everywhere. First our jobs, now this. Actually, he cuts in. About that, Dad called. He's offering Olivia her position back, with a promotion. The room tilts slightly. Of course he is. What's that supposed to mean? Ask yourself why Daniel would fire her, then rehire her weeks later with better pay. Unless it was all orchestrated to force her to move in here. Or maybe, Mark's voice hardens, he recognizes her talent and wants to support his family, his grandchild. My phone buzzes, a text from Ethan. Found something interesting about those layoffs. Coffee? You're not listening to me, I tell Mark, but he's already turning back to his work. No, Mom, you're not listening to anyone but yourself. I leave him there, crossing the lawn to Ethan's house. He's waiting on his porch with 2 steaming mugs and a manila folder. Your ex-husband's firm never had layoffs, he says without preamble. I checked with industry contacts. Olivia was the only one let go. My hands curl around the hot mug. And the newspaper? That was real. But the timing? He slides a document from the folder. Daniel bought shares in the parent company 3 months ago, enough to influence board decisions. The coffee burns my throat. He orchestrated both layoffs. Looks that way? Question is, why? From across the street, I see Olivia watching us through my living room window. She lifts her hand in a small wave, almost taunting. Because she needed a reason to move in, I say, to take over, and Daniel's helping her do it. Ethan studies me carefully. What are you going to do? I think of the brochures, the recipe test, the careful manipulation of my son. I'm going to prove it, all of it. Be careful, he warns. Pregnant women make sympathetic victims. And what about mothers protecting their children? What do we make? His answer is lost in the sound of a car door. Daniel's Mercedes pulls into my driveway, and Olivia hurries out to meet him. They speak briefly, heads close together, before she glances our way again. I stand, leaving my coffee untouched. Thank you for this. Ariel. Ethan's voice stops me. Sometimes the best revenge isn't what you do to others. It's what you prevent them from doing to you. I nod, watching Daniel and Olivia disappear into my house, into my son's life, into my carefully built world. Prevention might be too late, but revelation? That's just beginning. Ethan's laptop screen glows in his darkened kitchen as he shows me the email thread he recovered. My hands grip the counter so hard my knuckles whiten. 3 months before your layoff, he points out, Daniel and Olivia planning everything. The emails detail their scheme, orchestrated job losses, the calculated pregnancy announcement, even the real estate agent they'd contacted about Willow Lane's potential market value. There's more, Ethan says quietly, about Mark's job. My head snaps up. What about it? Daniel's been blocking his promotion opportunities, keeping him dependent, tied to the house. A car door slams outside. Through Ethan's window, I watch Olivia waddle up my driveway, shopping bags in hand. 4 months pregnant now, and she's wearing it like a crown. I need copies, I tell him. Ariel. He closes the laptop. What are you planning? The shopping bags rustle as Olivia struggles with her keys. Without thinking, I move to help her, but stop myself. Let her struggle. Nothing yet. I turn back to Ethan, but I need ammunition. Be careful. Revenge has a way of... This isn't revenge. The words come out sharp. This is protection. His silence speaks volumes. Back home, I find Olivia in my kitchen, unpacking what looks like an entire Williams-Sonoma store. My mother's old copper pots are stacked in a corner, replaced by gleaming stainless steel. Oh good, you're here, she chirps. Help me organize these? The nesting instinct is going crazy today. I pick up one of my displaced pots. Where are these going? Goodwill, probably. They're so outdated. They're family heirlooms. She sighs, one hand on her belly. Ariel, we've talked about this. The baby needs a clean, modern environment. All these old things harbor dust, bacteria. The only thing harboring toxins in this house is... The front door opens. Mark's voice calls out, Mom, Liv, big news. Olivia's face lights up with practiced radiance. I set the pot down harder than necessary. Mark bursts in, waving papers. They're offering me a position in Seattle. Better pay, full benefits. Seattle? My voice sounds distant. It's perfect timing. Olivia gushes. The housing market there is amazing. We could get twice the space for what this place would sell for. The room spins slightly. I grip the counter. Mom? Mark's excitement falters. Say something. Your father knows about this offer? He recommended me for it. Mark beams. Said it's time I spread my wings. Of course he did. Get Mark out of the way. Let Olivia handle the sale. Daniel's fingerprints are all over this. We can't leave you alone in this big house. Olivia adds sweetly. It's not safe. You should sell. Get something manageable. Near us, maybe? My phone buzzes. Another text from Ethan. Found the real estate listing. They've already taken photos. Mom? Mark touches my arm. You okay? I look at my son, Daniel's eyes, my stubborn chin, and see the boy who once promised never to leave me like his father did. Then I look at Olivia, wearing Daniel's mother's pearls while plotting to erase every trace of our family's history. I need air, I manage, pushing past them. In the garden, my roses are gone, replaced by Olivia's drought-resistant landscaping. The maple tree where Mark carved his initials, scheduled for removal next week. Every change small enough to seem reasonable, but together forming a complete erasure. My phone buzzes again. Karen this time. Girl, you need to see this. Olivia's Pinterest board, My Future Home, Seattle Edition. Your furniture's not in any of the photos. I sink onto the patio steps, surrounded by unfamiliar plants in a garden I no longer recognize. Through the kitchen window, I watch Mark hold Olivia from behind, his hands on her growing belly, while she continues unpacking her new kitchen equipment. The copper pots catch the afternoon light. 5 generations of family dinners, holidays, celebrations, reduced to goodwill donations. I pull up Ethan's email screenshots, then open my contacts. Daniel's number stares back at me. One call could expose everything: the manipulation, the scheming, the calculated destruction of my world. But would Mark believe it? Or would I become the bitter ex-wife, the difficult mother-in-law trying to sabotage his happiness? My finger hovers over Daniel's number. In the kitchen, Olivia laughs at something Mark says, her hand protectively cradling her stomach. My grandchild, the ultimate shield. I press call. Sometimes protection requires destruction, and I've learned from the best. The baby shower invitations mock me from my kitchen table, pink and gold foil, announcing a welcome baby girl celebration in my home this weekend. My home, which Olivia has transformed into something unrecognizable, all without asking. I pick up one invitation. The party date is circled in red, the same day as my wedding anniversary. Daniel would remember that. Olivia, too. My phone buzzes with Daniel's response to last night's call. Let's discuss this in person, coming by this afternoon. The doorbell rings just as I'm pouring my second bourbon. Olivia's voice floats up from downstairs, greeting guests for what she calls a pre-shower planning committee. I don't move from my study. Let them plan their party. Let them celebrate the next generation of manipulation. Mom? Mark knocks softly. Everyone's asking for you. I'm working. He opens the door anyway, frowning at the bourbon. It's 2 p.m. It's 5 o'clock somewhere. I sound like my mother. God help me. Dad's downstairs. Of course he is. The gang's all here. Downstairs, the living room has been transformed into a pink wonderland. My antique furniture is pushed against walls, replaced by rented chairs. Family photos are gone, switched out for tasteful abstracts. Olivia holds court from my favorite armchair, her hand resting on her prominent belly. Ariel, finally joining us? The room falls quiet. Karen's here, not meeting my eyes. Ethan's sister, Emma, who's apparently now Olivia's best friend. Even my old book club members, gathered around Olivia like moths to a flame. Daniel stands by the fireplace, examining the new artwork. He turns, and for a moment, I see recognition flash across his face. He remembers what used to hang there, our wedding portrait. Ladies, Olivia announces, would you excuse us? Family meeting. The guests file out, leaving whispers in their wake. Karen squeezes my hand as she passes, slipping something into my palm, a flash drive. I thought we should discuss the Seattle move. Olivia says once we're alone. As a family, there's nothing to discuss. I grip the flash drive. This is my home. Our home, Mark corrects automatically. Actually, Daniel steps forward. That's what I came to discuss. The deed is in my name. Was in your name, he says quietly. Check the records. It was transferred to Mark last month. The room tilts. That's impossible. I never signed. You did. Olivia's voice is gentle. Remember that insurance paperwork for the renovation permits? My legs give out. I sink onto the couch, remembering the stack of documents Mark brought home. I'd trusted him, signed without reading. It's for the best, Daniel says. You're not getting younger, Ariel. Seattle has excellent retirement communities. Get out. My voice shakes. Mom, all of you, get out of my house. It's not your house anymore. Olivia's mask slips just for a moment. And this isn't your family anymore either. The sooner you accept that. Accept what? That you've stolen everything again? Ariel, Daniel warns. I pull out my phone, opening the emails Ethan found. Should we discuss what everyone's been accepting? The orchestrated layoffs? The blocked promotions? The real estate listings from months ago? Mark stiffens. What's she talking about? She's confused, Olivia says quickly. Emotional. You know how she gets. Show him, I tell Daniel. Show him the truth or I will. Daniel's face hardens. You really want to do this? Now? With your grandchild at stake? The threat hangs there. My grandchild. My last connection to this family they're dismantling piece by piece. Mom? Mark sounds young suddenly, uncertain. What's going on? I look at my son, really look at him. See the boy who needed protection, who's become a man being manipulated by the people who should love him most. My finger hovers over the email forward button. One click and everything explodes. The truth about Daniel and Olivia's scheme. The carefully orchestrated destruction of my life. The betrayal that goes deeper than anyone suspects. But Mark's hand rests on Olivia's belly. His child, my grandchild, the next generation of this poisoned family tree. I delete the email draft. Nothing, I whisper. Nothing at all. Olivia's triumph glitters in her eyes as she turns to the others. Now, about the shower seating arrangements. I slip the flash drive into my pocket and head for the stairs. Behind me, they continue planning the celebration of new life in my stolen home, while I climb toward my shrinking sanctuary, tasting ashes and bourbon and defeat. The flash drive Karen gave me contains more than emails. There are photos, dozens of them. Olivia with Daniel dated long before their supposed affair began. Bank statements showing joint accounts opened years ago. And most damning, documentation of their plan to manipulate Mark's career, my layoff, everything. I'm studying these at Ethan's kitchen table when Olivia appears in his doorway. Breaking and entering now? I ask without looking up. Door was open. She waddles in, heavily pregnant. We need to talk. About how long you and Daniel were really together? Or about how you orchestrated my son's entire life? Her hand moves protectively to her belly. You don't understand? I understand perfectly. I turn the laptop so she can see the photos. You've been playing us for years. She doesn't deny it. Instead, she sinks into a chair, suddenly looking very young. Daniel promised he'd handle you. Handle me? I laugh. Like he handled Mark's career, blocking promotions, arranging that Seattle job? To protect him, her voice hardens, from becoming like you, trapped in this town, in that museum of a house, living in the past. You mean protecting your investment? How much is my home worth to you, Olivia? Was it worth destroying my family? Your family? She leans forward. You lost your family the moment you chose that house over Daniel. over Mark. Everything I did was to free them from your obsession. The baby kicks visibly against her dress. My granddaughter. The next piece in their game. Does Mark know? I ask quietly. About you and Daniel? About any of it? Fear flickers across her face. You wouldn't. Try me. She stands abruptly. If you tell him, you'll lose him forever. Think carefully, Ariel. Who will he believe? His bitter mother or his wife and unborn child? The truth has evidence. The truth? She laughs. The truth is you're alone. No job, no husband, and soon no house. Even Karen's chosen my side. Face it, Ariel. You've lost. My phone buzzes. A text from Mark. Where are you? Dad's here with the real estate agent. That's my cue. Olivia moves toward the door. Coming, I follow her across our adjoining lawns. Through my living room window, I see Daniel with a woman in a business suit. Mark hovers nearby, looking uncertain. Last chance, Olivia murmurs. Accept the retirement community. Stay quiet. You can still be part of your granddaughter's life. I stop at my front steps. You know what your mistake was, Olivia? Enlighten me. Thinking I needed to be handled, I push past her into my house, where Daniel is mid-sentence with the agent. Just needs some modernizing, but the bones are, get out. My voice carries years of stored rage. Mom, please, Mark starts. Show him, I tell Daniel. Show our son what you've been hiding, or I will. Daniel's face darkens. Ariel, think about what you're doing. I have. I turn to Mark. Your father and Olivia have been together for years. Before the affair, before the divorce, they've been manipulating your life, your career, everything. She's lying, Olivia says quickly. The pregnancy hormones. I pull out my phone, opening the files. Bank statements, photos, emails, everything. Mark takes the phone slowly. I watch his face as he scrolls. Confusion, disbelief, devastation. Mark, honey. Olivia reaches for him. He jerks away. How long? Son. Daniel steps forward. How long? The silence stretches. Finally, Olivia whispers, 5 years. Mark's hand shakes. Before college graduation? Before you helped me get my job? We wanted to help you, Daniel says, guide you toward a better life. By lying, manipulating, Mark's voice breaks. My whole life is a setup? The baby. Olivia touches her stomach. Is she even mine? The room freezes. Olivia's face goes white. And there it is, the question nobody wanted to ask. The final piece of their carefully constructed facade. Mark looks at his father, at his wife, at the life they built on lies. Then he hands me back my phone and walks out the front door. Mark, Olivia moves to follow. Let him go, I say quietly. For once in his life, let him choose his own path. The real estate agent slips out awkwardly. Daniel stares at the space where our son stood. Olivia sinks onto my couch, tears streaming. Sometimes revenge isn't about winning. It's about revealing the truth and letting the pieces fall where they may. I head upstairs to pack, leaving them with the wreckage of their perfect plan. Behind me, Olivia's sobs echo through my not quite lost home. The DNA test results sit unopened on my kitchen table while I make tea in my mother's old copper pot. Outside, the maple tree Mark tried to save still stands, its leaves turning gold in the October light. The front door opens. Mark's footsteps, then a pause at the kitchen threshold. You kept the pots, he says. Some things are worth keeping. I pour 2 cups. How's the new job? Different. He sits across from me, eyes on the envelope. Is that? I slide it toward him. Your choice. His hands shake slightly as he breaks the seal. I watch his face as he reads, remembering the day he first rode his bike under that maple tree, the day he graduated, the day he brought Olivia home. All those moments that seemed pure once, now tainted by manipulation. "Well," he says finally, "guess I'm not moving to Seattle after all." The test results flutter to the floor. Neither of us moves to pick them up. "Have you heard from them?" I ask. "Dad's in Europe. Olivia's with her sister in Phoenix." He traces the rim of his teacup. "The baby's due next month." Not his baby. Not my grandchild. Another lie in a house full of ghosts. "I signed the house back over to you," he says. "The lawyer has the paperwork." "Mark, I never wanted it. That was their plan, not mine." He meets my eyes. "I'm sorry I didn't see it sooner." Through the window, I spot Ethan in his garden, pretending not to watch us. Karen's car drives by slowly, then continues down Willow Lane. The neighborhood holding its breath, waiting to see how our drama ends. "I found something else," Mark continues. "In Dad's office after everything. Letters from Mom, your mother, to him before he left, warning him about Olivia." My hand's still on the teapot. "What?" She knew. Somehow she saw what Olivia was before any of us. Dad kept the letters, but he chose not to believe them. He pulls out an envelope, aged and creased. "She wrote this one to me. Asked him to give it to me when I was old enough to understand. He never did." "No." Mark unfolds the letter carefully. "She wrote that sometimes the people who seem to want to free us are really just building different cages. That true freedom comes from choosing our own paths, even if they lead us back to where we started." My mother's words, reaching across time to protect what she couldn't save in life. I think of all the times I fought to keep this house, thinking I was protecting our legacy, when really I was protecting the truth she tried to tell. "I'm going to travel for a while," Mark says, "figure out who I am without their influence." "The house will be here," I tell him, "when you're ready." He stands, touching the copper pot gently. "Keep these out. They look right here." After he leaves, I walk through my house again, noting the spaces where Olivia's modern touches have been stripped away, leaving behind the bones of what was always meant to be. In the living room, I rehang the family photos, including one of Mark as a baby, held by my mother. The doorbell rings. Ethan stands there with a garden trowel and a small rose bush. "Thought you might want to restart your garden," he says. "The old roses, the ones your mother planted." I take the plant, feeling its weight, its potential. "Why did you help me? Really?" He looks past me to the maple tree. "Because 20 years ago, Daniel and Olivia did the same thing to my family. Different house, different story, same scheme. I wasn't strong enough to stop them then. And now? Now they'll think twice before trying again." He hands me the trowel. Sometimes the best revenge is making sure there are no more victims. I plant the rose under my mother's maple tree, where it will either grow or die on its own terms. Inside, the copper pots gleam in the afternoon light, ready for new memories, untainted by manipulation. The DNA results lie forgotten on the kitchen floor. Some truths matter more than biology. Some homes are built on foundations stronger than blood. I pick up my phone and delete the last photos of Olivia from my gallery. Let Phoenix keep her. My house remembers who it belongs to, and so do I.
The silver knife trembled in my hand as I sliced through the prosciutto, paper-thin pieces curling onto the marble counter. Everything had to be perfect tonight. The first time meeting my son's fiancée deserved nothing less than immaculate presentation, even if my gut churned with an inexplicable dread. I'm Sutton, and after 22 years of being the only woman in Liam's life, I was about to share that privilege with someone else. The doorbell chimed. My knife slipped, nearly catching my finger. I wiped my hands, smoothed down my silk blouse, and crossed the hardwood floors that had witnessed every milestone of Liam's life. Now they'd carry the weight of this moment too. "Mom." Liam's embrace was warm, familiar. He'd grown taller than me years ago, but I still saw traces of that little boy who used to climb into my bed during thunderstorms. "This is Chloe." She stepped forward, all polished edges and calculated grace. Designer dress, perfectly styled hair, and a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "Mrs. Harrison, I've heard so much about you. Please call me Sutton." I extended my hand, but she moved in for an embrace instead, her expensive perfume overwhelming my senses. Her grip was just a fraction too tight, lasting a moment too long. "Your home is absolutely charming," Chloe said, her gaze sweeping across my carefully curated living room. "So cozy, though I imagine it must feel quite empty now that Liam's moved out." The slight pause before cozy didn't escape me. Neither did the way she kept her hand possessively on Liam's arm. "Wine," I offered, leading them to the dining room where candles flickered against crystal glasses. "It's a Bordeaux from 2015. "Oh, I only drink natural wines now," Chloe said. "The sulfites, you know. But don't worry about me." Liam jumped in. "The table looks amazing, Mom. You didn't have to go through all this trouble." "It's no trouble," I said, watching Chloe examine the place settings with the scrutiny of a health inspector. "I wanted tonight to be special." Over appetizers, Chloe steered the conversation toward my career. "Liam mentioned you used to be quite the powerhouse attorney. What made you step back into consulting?" "Mom chose to focus on raising me," Liam said proudly. "How noble," Chloe smiled. "Though it must have been difficult watching your colleagues advance while you simplified your life." The prosciutto turned to ash in my mouth. "Actually, consulting offers more flexibility and—" "Oh, that reminds me," Chloe cut in, turning to Liam. "Remember that partner position I mentioned? They're fast-tracking my application. We might need to postpone our house hunting." "That's wonderful," Liam beamed at her. "Mum, Chloe's been killing it at her tech startup. Youngest team lead in company history." "Impressive," I said, noting how she'd masterfully deflected attention from my career to hers. "What exactly does your company do?" "Oh, it's quite complex. Corporate restructuring mainly. Actually, I'd love your insight on some legal matters, given your experience." She paused, fork hovering over her untouched salad. "Have you ever handled cases involving intellectual property theft?" The question landed like a stone in still water. Specific, targeted. My wineglass froze halfway to my lips. "That's quite a specific area of interest," I said carefully. "Just professional curiosity," Chloe shrugged, but her eyes held mine with unsettling intensity. "You never know when such knowledge might come in handy." The evening continued like a choreographed dance, each step measured, each word weighted. But as I watched Chloe orchestrate every conversation, smoothly positioning herself between Liam and me, both physically and metaphorically, that initial dread crystallized into certainty. This wasn't just about meeting my son's fiancée. This was about something else entirely. The way she probed about my past cases, her calculated comments about my career choices, the subtle digs wrapped in sweet smiles. She was gathering ammunition. As they prepared to leave, Chloe embraced me again. "Thank you for such an enlightening evening, Sutton. I can't wait to really get to know you." The threat beneath her words was clear as crystal. This wasn't the end of something. It was the beginning. Maya's garden always smelled like jasmine and secrets. I sat across from her on the weathered deck chairs, clutching my coffee mug like a lifeline, while describing last night's dinner with Chloe. She kept asking about my old cases, Maya, specific ones, the kind nobody remembers unless they're digging. "Could be professional interest," Maya said, but her frown betrayed her doubt. "She works in tech, right? Corporate restructuring." I set down my mug, which makes her questions about intellectual property theft even more interesting. My phone buzzed. A text from Liam. "Chloe's planning a surprise visit to the wedding venue. She'd love your input." 20 minutes later, I pulled into the gravel driveway of Rosewood Manor. Chloe stood on the sweeping steps, designer sunglasses perched on her head, tapping away at her phone. No Liam in sight. "Oh, Sutton," she air-kissed my cheek. "I hope you don't mind. Liam got caught up at work. But I thought this would give us a chance to bond." The venue coordinator led us through the historic mansion. Chloe dominated the tour, speaking over the coordinator about her vision for each space. I noticed how she positioned herself between me and the coordinator, controlling the flow of information. "The library would be perfect for the ceremony," the coordinator suggested. "Oh no," Chloe laughed. "That's much too small. We're thinking the grand ballroom. My guest list alone is 300 people." My stomach clenched. 300? Liam wanted a small wedding. Things change. Chloe's smile didn't waver. "Speaking of change, I've been meaning to ask about your consulting work. Any interesting cases lately?" "Nothing that would interest you. Don't sell yourself short. I heard you handled the Martinez tech merger last year. Fascinating case, especially the intellectual property disputes." The coordinator excused herself to take a call, leaving us alone in the ballroom. Chloe's heels clicked against the hardwood as she circled me. "You know what I find interesting," she said. "How certain sensitive documents from that case disappeared right before the ruling." My pulse quickened. "That's privileged information, is it? I suppose that's why it never made the papers." She examined her manicure. "Imagine the scandal if it had." "What do you want, Chloe?" "Want? I want us to be family, Sutton. I want you to trust that I know what's best for Liam, and I want you to step back from the wedding planning. Completely. And if I don't, then we'll have to have a very different conversation about trust, and documents, and statute of limitations." The coordinator returned, chattering about table arrangements. Chloe transformed instantly, all smiles and enthusiasm. That evening, I sat in my home office, staring at the Martinez case files. My phone lit up with a text from an unknown number. "Interesting day at Rosewood. We should talk." Ethan, Chloe's co-worker. Before I could respond, Liam called. "Mom, Chloe told me about the venue. Isn't it perfect?" "It's grand." I hesitated. "Liam, are you sure this is what you want? It seems very different from what we discussed." "I know it's not what we planned, but Chloe has this amazing vision, and her connections could really help my career. You understand, right?" I thought of the Martinez files, of Chloe's veiled threats, of my son's voice tinged with hope and uncertainty. "Of course I understand," I lied. "Whatever makes you happy." After hanging up, I opened my laptop and typed Chloe Bennett into the search bar. If she wanted to dig into my past, I could do some digging of my own. The search results loaded: employment history, social media profiles, news articles. But it was a small item from 3 years ago that caught my eye. A brief mention of another engagement, ended abruptly amid rumors of corporate espionage. My phone buzzed again. Ethan. "There's more to Chloe than anyone knows. Meet tomorrow." I typed back, "Name the place." The Martinez file sat heavy on my desk, a reminder of past mistakes and present threats. Chloe thought she had me cornered, but she'd made one crucial error. She'd threatened the wrong mother. The coffee shop buzzed with morning chatter, but Ethan's voice cut through it like a knife. She did the same thing at her last company, got engaged to the CEO's son, gained access to sensitive information, then disappeared when the merger went through. I studied him across the table, rumpled shirt, shadows under his eyes, fingers drumming nervously on his paper cup. Not exactly the picture of a reliable witness, but his details were too specific to ignore. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because I've watched her do it again. The engagement, the careful questions, the way she positions herself." He leaned forward. "And because I saw what happened to James Porter," the name hit me like a physical blow. James Porter, the CEO's son from Chloe's previous engagement. I'd seen the name in my research, but nothing more. "What happened to him?" Ethan's phone buzzed. His face went pale. She's here, at the office. I have to go." He hurried out, leaving me with more questions than answers. I pulled out my phone, searching for James Porter. Nothing recent, but an archived article caught my eye. Tech heir steps down after security breach scandal. My phone rang. Liam. "Mum, you'll never believe it. Chloe just got promoted to Director of Operations. We're celebrating tonight at Laurent's. You'll come, right?" The same restaurant where I'd celebrated making partner 15 years ago. Of course she'd choose that. "Wouldn't miss it," I said, already pulling up Laurent's seating chart from my old client files. That evening, Chloe held court at the best table in the house, the one with sightlines to every entrance. She wore cream silk, but her smile was all teeth. "Sutton, I'm so glad you could make it." She gestured to the man beside her. "This is Marcus Chen, our new investor. He was just telling me about his daughter's wedding in Bali." I recognized the name from my Martinez case files, the ones Chloe had threatened me with. "How lovely," I said, watching her hand rest possessively on Liam's arm. "Though I thought you wanted a small ceremony." "Oh, that was before," Liam said. "But with Chloe's promotion, we thought why not dream bigger," Chloe finished. "Actually, Marcus's company is looking for legal consultation. I mentioned your expertise." The trap was elegant in its simplicity. Take the job, become complicit, refuse, risk Liam's future. "I'm quite selective about my clients these days." "Mom," Liam frowned, "this could be huge for both of us." My phone vibrated, an email from an anonymous account. "James Porter, Meadowbrook Recovery Center." "Excuse me," I said, standing. "I need to make a call." In the restaurant's elegant bathroom, I read the full email: medical records, police reports, psychiatric evaluations. James Porter had suffered a complete breakdown after the merger scandal. His father's company had collapsed, their family fortune decimated. The bathroom door opened. "Chloe." "Everything all right? You seemed distracted." "Just work." I met her eyes in the mirror. "Tell me, do you still keep in touch with James Porter?" The slight widening of her eyes was all I needed. "That's ancient history," she said, her voice carefully controlled. "Though speaking of history, how is the Martinez case documentation? All properly archived? You know what's interesting about archives?" I turned to face her. They never really disappear. They just wait for the right moment. "Careful, Sutton." Her mask slipped for just a second. "Some moments can't be taken back." She left, her heels clicking against marble. Through the door, I heard Liam's laugh, bright and trusting. My phone buzzed again. Another email. "Meeting tomorrow, 2 p.m., Meadowbrook Recovery Center." JP. I looked in the mirror, seeing not just my reflection, but 22 years of protecting Liam, of teaching him to ride a bike, to stand up to bullies, to trust his instincts. I'd fought for him since the day he was born. I wasn't about to stop now. Returning to the table, I watched Chloe charm Marcus Chen, her hand still on Liam's arm. She'd orchestrated everything perfectly, the promotion, the investor, the trap. But she'd made one critical mistake. She'd threatened my son, and she was about to learn why even the most brilliant predators fear a mother's rage. Meadowbrook Recovery Center loomed against the autumn sky, all red brick and barred windows. James Porter sat across from me in the visitors' room, his expensive sweater hanging loose on his frame, hands trembling as he stirred his untouched tea. "She'll destroy him," James said, "just like she destroyed me. And the worst part, he'll thank her for it." A nurse passed by, checking on us through the reinforced glass. James flinched at the movement. "Tell me about the merger," I said. "There was no merger. That was the point. She got access to everything. Security protocols, trade secrets, client lists. By the time anyone realized what was happening," he pressed his fingers to his temples. "My father lost everything. 40 years of building our company, gone in 6 months. My phone buzzed. A text from Liam. "Mom, need your help. Chloe's arranged a meeting with Marcus Chen. Says you're joining the legal team." James noticed my expression. Let me guess. She's already positioning herself. What do you mean? The legal team was how she started with us. Said she needed to understand the company structure. Next thing I knew, she had access to everything. He leaned forward. Has she asked about your old cases yet? The Martinez files. My hands went cold. You need to understand something, James continued. She doesn't just take information, she makes sure you're complicit. By the time you realize what's happening, you're already trapped. Another text from Maya. Emergency. Ethan's been in an accident. Hospital says it wasn't an accident. The room suddenly felt too small. I stood, but James grabbed my wrist. Wait, there's something else. Something about her background. The door opened. A nurse entered. Mr. Porter, time for your medication. No, please, I need to tell her. But they were already leading him away, his last words lost in the institutional quiet. At the hospital, I found Ethan in intensive care. Car brake lines, Maya whispered. Police are investigating. My phone rang. Chloe. Sutton, I just heard about poor Ethan. Such a tragedy. You know, he's been under so much stress lately. Apparently, he's been accessing confidential company files after hours. The threat was clear as crystal. What do you want? Just what we discussed. The Martinez documentation, your legal expertise for Marcus's company, and a pause. A mother's blessing for her son's happiness. Through the hospital window, I watched Ethan's monitors beep steadily. He'd tried to warn me, and now, the meeting's tomorrow at 10, Chloe continued. I've already told Liam you'll be there. He's so excited about us all working together. After hanging up, I sat in the hospital corridor, my hands shaking as I opened my laptop. The Martinez files stared back at me. Evidence of corporate theft, manipulated depositions, a case that could have ruined lives if the truth had come out. My phone buzzed again. An unknown number. Grace Harrison trying to reach you. Urgent family matter. Grace, my mother. 20 years of silence, and she chooses now. A text from Liam appeared. Mom, you're coming tomorrow, right? This means everything to me. I closed my eyes, seeing James Porter's trembling hands, Ethan's still form, the Martinez files that could destroy everything I'd built. Chloe had orchestrated it perfectly, each piece falling into place, each person exactly where she needed them. But she'd made one crucial mistake. She thought she was dealing with a lawyer, a consultant, a woman bound by professional ethics and maternal guilt. She forgot she was dealing with a mother who'd spent 22 years protecting her child. I opened my phone and dialed the unknown number. Hello, Grace, we need to talk. Sometimes, to save someone you love, you have to be willing to burn everything else to the ground. I looked at Ethan's hospital room one last time, then walked out into the gathering dark. Tomorrow, I'd sit in that meeting. I'd smile and nod and play my part. And then I'd show Chloe exactly what happens when you back a mother into a corner. Because there are two types of revenge in this world, the kind that destroys you and the kind that sets you free. I was done being destroyed. Grace's house hadn't changed in 20 years. Same faded curtains, same porcelain cats, same heavy silence that had driven me away. She set down her teacup, hand steady despite her age. I should have warned you about Chloe Bennett, she said, or whatever name she's using now. My cup froze halfway to my lips. What do you mean? 3 years ago, she was Charlotte Brooks. Before that, Claire Blackwood. Grace pulled out a manila envelope. She's been running this scheme since she was 19. Different names, different cities, same pattern. Inside were newspaper clippings, police reports, photographs, young women with Chloe's face but different hair, different clothes, different lives. Each story ended the same way: destroyed companies, ruined families, missing documents. My phone buzzed. Ethan, finally conscious. She knows I talked to you, not safe. Delete everything. How did you get all this? I asked Grace. Because 5 years ago she was Catherine Barnes, and she almost destroyed your father's company. Grace's voice cracked. That's why he... The doorbell rang. Through the window, I saw Chloe's sleek car in the driveway. "Back door," Grace whispered, shoving the envelope into my hands. "I'll stall her." I slipped out just as Chloe's voice filled the house, all warmth and charm. "Mrs. Harrison, what a lovely surprise. Liam mentioned you and Sutton might reconnect before the wedding." In my car, hands shaking, I spread out the evidence. Each article revealed another piece. Corporate espionage, identity theft, strategic marriages. But it was the last photo that stopped my heart. Chloe with my father, taken months before his suicide. My phone lit up. "Liam. Mom, where are you? Chloe says you missed the meeting with Marcus Chen. Everything okay?" Before I could respond, another text arrived. "Chloe. Interesting chat with your mother. Shame about your father's gambling debts. Or was it embezzlement? Records can be so confusing." The steering wheel felt cold under my fingers. Through Grace's window, I watched Chloe embrace her, playing the perfect future granddaughter-in-law. But her eyes scanned the room, hunting. My phone buzzed again. "Maya. Police called. Ethan's gone. Left against medical advice. No one knows where." Then Chloe. "The Martinez files by midnight, or Liam learns everything about Grandpa's accident. Your choice." The envelope felt heavy in my lap. 20 years of running from my father's disgrace, of building a new life, of protecting Liam from our family's shadows. Now, Chloe held all the threads, pulling them tight, but she'd made a mistake. She thought she was blackmailing a daughter ashamed of her father's sins. She didn't know she was threatening a mother protecting her son. I started the car just as Chloe emerged from Grace's house. Our eyes met across the driveway. She smiled, raised her hand in a wave that felt like a sentence. My phone lit up one last time. An unknown number. Storage Unit 23 Central Avenue. Password, redemption, come alone. JP, James Porter. Even from his hospital bed, he was still fighting. I pulled away from Grace's house, watching Chloe's figure shrink in my rearview mirror. She thought she had won, thought she held all the cards. But I had something she didn't. A mother's desperate love, and nothing left to lose. The storage facility waited ahead, its rows of metal doors holding who knew what secrets. Unit 23 stood at the end of a dark row, its padlock gleaming like a promise. Or a threat. I reached for the lock, remembering Liam's smile, my father's shame, Chloe's perfect mask. The password felt like ashes in my mouth. Redemption. Sometimes, to save someone you love, you have to be willing to face the darkest parts of yourself. The lock clicked open. The rehearsal dinner sparkled with false promises. Crystal glasses caught the light, casting prisms across white tablecloths, while Chloe worked the room like a conductor leading her orchestra. Every laugh, every toast, every casual touch on Liam's arm, a perfectly choreographed performance. I clutched James Porter's USB drive in my pocket, its edges digging into my palm. One file upload, one moment of truth, and everything would shatter. "Mom," Liam appeared beside me, happiness radiating from his face. "Thank you for being here. I know things have been tense, but seeing you and Chloe finally getting along." My throat closed. The evidence felt like lead in my pocket. Bank statements, falsified documents, proof of Chloe's previous identities. Everything needed to save him. Everything needed to break his heart. Speech time. Chloe clinked her glass, drawing all eyes. "I want to thank everyone for coming, especially my future mother-in-law, Sutton. Despite our rough start, she's shown me what true family means." Our eyes met across the room. Her smile never wavered, but her message was clear. "Check and mate." My phone buzzed. "Maya. Ethan found dead in his apartment. Police calling it suicide." The room spun. Chloe raised her glass higher. "To family, to trust, to new beginnings." "To new beginnings," the crowd echoed. I stood abruptly, chair scraping against hardwood. Heads turned. Liam frowned. "Mom? I need some air." The balcony door clicked behind me, muffling the celebration. My hands shook as I pulled out my phone, downloading the files from Porter's drive. The door opened. Chloe's perfume reached me before her voice did. "Beautiful night for ruining lives, isn't it?" I turned. Her perfect mask had slipped, revealing something cold and familiar underneath. My father's eyes before the end. "I know what you did to Ethan," I said. "Tragic, wasn't it? Depression's such a terrible thing." She moved closer. "Just like your father's gambling problem. Amazing how history repeats itself." "Stay away from my son." "Your son?" She laughed softly. "Liam's already mine, and after tonight's announcement about the merger with Marcus Chen's company, his future will be too. Unless what? Delete the files, Sutton. All of them. Walk away. Let your son be happy." My finger hovered over the upload button. One press and everything would end. The door opened again. Liam stepped out, champagne in hand. "Everything okay out here?" "Perfect, darling," Chloe purred. "Your mother was just giving me some marriage advice." He beamed at us both, this beautiful boy I'd raised alone, who still saw the world in simple truths, who still believed in happy endings. "Actually," Chloe continued, "why don't you share our news, Liam?" "Mom," he grabbed my hands, eyes shining. "Marcus offered me a position running the new merger division. Chloe helped arrange everything. We're moving to London next month." The phone slipped from my fingers, shattering on the balcony floor. With it went Porter's evidence, my last chance at exposure. "Isn't it wonderful?" Chloe wrapped her arm around Liam's waist. "A fresh start, far from old complications." I looked at my son, really looked at him, saw his joy, his trust, his complete faith in the woman beside him, saw how thoroughly she'd won. "Mum, say something." The words stuck in my throat, because in that moment, I finally understood. This wasn't about saving Liam anymore. This was about choosing between destroying his happiness or watching him walk into a trap I couldn't prevent. "Congratulations," I whispered. Chloe's victory smile flashed in the darkness. "To family," she raised her glass. My son pulled me into a hug, while over his shoulder, Chloe mouthed two final words, "Game over." And it was. Because sometimes protecting someone means letting them go, even when you know they're walking straight into the arms of the enemy, even when it breaks everything you are. The wedding venue's grand hall echoed with last-minute preparations when Grace arrived, clutching a worn leather portfolio. Her hands trembled, but her voice carried across the space. "Catherine Barnes," she called out. Chloe froze at the altar, where she'd been directing flower arrangements. The name hit like a thunderclap in the quiet room. "I'm sorry." Chloe's smile remained perfect, but her knuckles whitened around the roses she held. "Or was it Claire Blackwood? Charlotte Brooks?" Grace moved closer, each step deliberate. "You've had so many names, I lose track." Liam appeared from the side room. "What's going on?" "Nothing, darling." Chloe reached for him, but Grace opened the portfolio. "Your father didn't gamble away our company, Sutton." Grace's voice cracked. "She did. 5 years ago, when she was Catherine Barnes, engaged to Thomas Mitchell." I stepped out from behind the altar, James Porter's USB drive now connected to the venue's display system. The screens flickered to life, showing document after document, bank statements, identity changes, police reports. "Mum?" Liam's confusion turned to concern. "What is this?" "Ask her," I said softly. "Ask her about Ethan." Chloe's mask slipped for just a moment. "Liam, they're trying to ruin our happiness. Your mother can't stand seeing you move on. And your grandmother..." "Your grandmother lost everything," Grace continued. "Just like James Porter's family. Just like Thomas Mitchell's. Just like every family you've destroyed." The doors burst open. Dylan rushed in, holding his phone. "Liam, you need to see this. The merger documents, they're not what we thought. The company's being stripped for assets. Everyone's losing their jobs." Chloe's laugh turned sharp. "You don't understand business, Dylan. Sometimes sacrifices, like Ethan..." I stepped closer. Was he a necessary sacrifice? "Ethan killed himself," she snapped, then caught herself. But it was too late. How did you know that? Liam asked quietly. His death wasn't announced as suicide. The silence stretched like a wire about to snap. Show him, Grace whispered. I pressed play. Security footage filled the screens. Chloe entering Ethan's building the night he died, leaving hours later with his laptop. He was unstable, Chloe's voice hardened. He would have ruined everything. Just like your father, Sutton. Just like everyone who stands in my way. My father, I said, was protecting me from you. And now I'm protecting my son. Protecting him? She laughed. Look around, Sutton. Look what you've done. You've destroyed his happiness, his career, his future. Some mother you are. No, Liam's voice cut through her words. You did that. When you lied, when you killed Ethan, when you tried to turn me against my own mother, everything I did was for us. Chloe reached for him, desperation cracking her perfect veneer. We can still have it all. London, the merger. The merger's fake, Dylan interrupted. The documents just leaked. It's all been a scam from the start. Chloe's eyes darted between us, calculating escape routes. But Grace stood by one door, Dylan by the other. And on the screens above, her past played out in damning detail. It's over, I said quietly. Over? Her laugh turned hysterical. You think this is over? Ask your mother what really happened the night your father died, Sutton. Ask her who really... I know what happened, Grace stepped forward. Because I was there, and I have proof. Chloe's composure shattered completely. She lunged for her bag, but Liam got there first, pulling out a gun. Insurance, she said wildly. Just insurance. For what? Liam's voice broke. For killing my grandfather, for planning to kill my mother. Police sirens wailed in the distance. Chloe's face contorted into something unrecognizable. No longer the perfect fiancé, but something raw and desperate. You're all the same, she spat. Weak, sentimental, thinking love conquers all. Love is a weapon, and I wielded it perfectly. No, I said, watching my son's heart break and heal in the same moment. Love is what brought you down. A mother's love. The one weapon you never understood. The police burst in as Chloe made her final desperate move. But in the end, it wasn't the evidence that destroyed her. It was the truth she never grasped. That sometimes the strongest vengeance isn't in destruction, it's in protection. The demolition crew arrived at dawn. I watched from my porch as they dismantled the gazebo where Liam had proposed to Chloe, each crack of splintering wood echoing like thunder. Maya appeared beside me, coffee in hand. You sure about this renovation? Through the window, I could see Grace in my kitchen, sorting through old photographs. She'd found one of my father earlier, his smile untouched by what was to come. Some structures can't be fixed, I said. You have to tear them down completely. The newspaper on my lap carried Chloe's sentencing on the front page. 5 to 10 years for corporate fraud, with additional charges pending for Ethan's death. Her mugshot showed a stranger, no makeup, no mask, just hollow eyes and bitter truth. Mum? Liam stood in the doorway, boxes in his arms. Where should I put Dad's old files? The study, Grace called out. We're organizing everything properly this time. Everything. Including the truth about my father's death, which Grace had finally shared. How he'd discovered Chloe's true identity. How he'd tried to warn me. How his accident hadn't been an accident at all. The demolition crew's machinery growled louder, and I watched another piece of my old life crumble. The detective called, Maya said quietly. They found Ethan's last video message. He recorded everything. I don't want to know. The words surprised me even as I said them. Some truths don't heal anything. Inside, Liam and Grace worked together, rebuilding our family's story one document at a time. Through the window, I saw him laugh at something she said, a sound I'd almost forgotten. Dylan's car pulled up, and he hurried over with a stack of papers. The merger's officially dead. The board voted this morning. Everyone keeps their jobs. And Marcus Chen? Singing like a bird to reduce his sentence. Dylan grinned. Turns out he's got quite a lot to say about Chloe's previous identities. The last wall of the gazebo fell, revealing the garden beyond. My garden. Not the pristine showcase Chloe had demanded, but the wild, honest space my father had loved. They're bringing James Porter home next week, Maya mentioned. His doctors say the breakthrough probably saved his life. A butterfly landed on the railing, its wings catching the morning light. For a moment, it looked like the one from my father's favorite photograph. The one where I'm 3 years old, chasing butterflies while he watched, proud and protective. You never told Liam everything, Maya said softly, about what Chloe planned for after the wedding. He doesn't need to know. I watched the butterfly take flight. Some burdens are meant for mothers alone. Grace appeared with fresh coffee, her hands steadier than they'd been in years. The contractors hear about the new plans. I stood, feeling the weight of the past fall away with each step toward the future. Through the dust of demolition, I could see the foundation, strong, unchanged, waiting for something new to rise. "Mom," Liam called from inside, "I found something weird in Dad's old files, something about a safety deposit box." I exchanged glances with Grace. Some secrets weren't meant for today. Some truths would wait for their own time, their own story. "Coming," I called back, but paused at the door. The butterfly had returned, landing now on the space where the gazebo had stood. Maya touched my arm. "You okay?" I thought of Chloe in her cell, of Ethan's final warning, of my father's sacrifice, of all the ways love could turn to poison, and poison to protection. "I'm ready," I said, and stepped inside to help my son rebuild our home. Because that's what mothers do. We protect, we survive, we rebuild. And sometimes, in the ruins of what was lost, we find something stronger than revenge, the truth of who we really are. The butterfly took flight one last time, disappearing into the morning light, leaving only shadows and possibilities behind.
The sound of shattering glass punctuates my sister's announcement like an exclamation mark. My mother's favorite crystal vase lies in pieces on the hardwood floor, knocked over by Lily's dramatic gesture as she waves her left hand, showing off an engagement ring that probably cost more than my monthly rent. "We're getting married in June," Lily squeals, completely ignoring the destruction at her feet. "And we want to have it at the Plaza Hotel." I'm Joy, and this is the moment my carefully constructed facade of family harmony finally cracks. My father's face drains of color. "The Plaza? Sweetheart, with your medical bills. Daddy, please, this is my special day. I've always dreamed of this." Of course she has. And of course, they'll find a way to make it happen. They always do for Lily. "We'll figure something out," my mother says, already reaching for her phone, probably to check their credit card limits. She steps around the broken glass like it isn't even there. "Maybe we can take out a second mortgage." I can't help but laugh. It comes out harsh, bitter. "A second mortgage? Are you serious?" 3 pairs of eyes turn to me, as if suddenly remembering I exist. My daughter Emily clutches my hand, sensing the tension in the room. She's only 6, but she's already learned to read these family dynamics better than most adults. "Joy, please," my mother warns. "This is Lily's moment." "It's always Lily's moment," I say, my voice trembling. "When Ryan died, you couldn't even come to the funeral because Lily had a doctor's appointment. A routine checkup, Mom, not even an emergency." Lily's lower lip quivers. "That's not fair. You know I need regular monitoring." "What's not fair is that Dad works 3 jobs to pay for your treatments, while you post Instagram stories from spa weekends." The words explode out of me, years of resentment finally finding their voice. "How dare you?" My mother steps between us. "Your sister is sick." "Is she? Really?" "Because she looks pretty healthy when she's shopping at Nordstrom, or having lunch at that new French place downtown." Lily bursts into tears, right on cue. My father moves to comfort her, but I'm not finished. "You kicked me out of my old room because Lily needed a recovery space. I was 8 months pregnant, and you made me sleep on the couch. That was temporary. my father says weakly. Everything's temporary when it comes to me, isn't it? But Lily's needs, those are always permanent, always priority. My mother's face hardens. If you can't be happy for your sister, maybe you should leave. Happy? I laugh again. And it sounds unhinged even to my own ears. Happy about watching you bankrupt yourselves for her wedding, while I had to take out loans to bury my husband. Mommy. Emily's voice is small, scared. It's okay, baby. I squeeze her hand. We're leaving. Joy, don't be dramatic, my father starts. But I'm already gathering our things. No, Mom's right. We should leave. But before we go, you should know something. I pull out my phone, hands shaking. I've been doing some digging. Those medical bills you've been paying. I'd take a closer look at where that money's really going. Lily's face goes white. For once, the tears stop. What are you talking about? My father asks. Ask your precious daughter about her secret credit card. The one she uses for her treatments at Saks Fifth Avenue. You're lying, Lily shrieks. Get out, my mother screams. Get out of this house. I grab Emily's coat and my purse. Gladly. But remember this moment. Remember when you chose her lies over my truth. Again, as I walk out into the night with my daughter, I hear Lily's sobs and my mother's soothing words. Same script, different day. But this time, something's different. This time, I'm not coming back to apologize. This time, I'm going to make them see exactly what their golden child has been doing to this family. And God help them all when the truth finally comes out. Clara's guest room feels like a refuge, but the memories won't let me sleep. Emily's steady breathing from the air mattress beside me only reminds me of another night, 7 years ago, when I sat alone in a hospital waiting room while my sister monopolized our parents' attention. Again, my high school graduation, that's where it all started to unravel. I trace the edge of my phone, staring at the dozen missed calls from my father. The screen lights up again. Mom this time. I silence it and pull up the photo gallery instead. There it is, the image that started tonight's explosion. Lily at Le Cirque last week, champagne glass raised high, wearing a designer dress that costs more than 3 of Dad's mortgage payments. You're still awake? Clara appears in the doorway, holding 2 steaming mugs. I made chamomile. Thanks, I accept the tea, but don't drink. I keep thinking about what Dad said when I got into Columbia. We're so proud, but with Lily's new treatment, they couldn't help with tuition. Clara finishes. She's heard this story before. Meanwhile, Lily dropped out of community college because it was too stressful with her condition. I pull up another photo on my phone. Look at this stress. Clara leans in, examining the image of Lily at a spa resort from 2 months ago. Those mud treatments must be part of her medical regimen. You know what's funny? When Ryan died, I had to beg them to watch Emily for the funeral. Lily had a migraine that day. My laugh comes out hollow, but she managed to post 3 TikTok dance videos. Joy. Clara hesitates. Have you ever shown them these photos? They wouldn't believe me, or they'd make excuses. They always do. My phone buzzes again. A text from Dad. Please come home. We can talk about this. Delete it, Clara advises. You need space to think. Space won't change anything. You know what I found last week? I pull out a crumpled receipt from my purse. This fell out of Lily's purse when she asked me to grab her medication. It's for a weekend at the Ritz-Carlton, the same weekend Mom and Dad took out a personal loan for her emergency treatment. Clara's eyes widen. Are you sure? The dates match perfectly. I checked their bank statements. Dad still uses my old laptop. Never cleared the passwords. I spread more receipts across the bed. Look, Gucci, Prada, Day Spas, all charged to an account called Medical Expenses LLC. She set up a whole fake company. That's fraud, Clara whispers. And that's just what I've found so far. My hands shake as I gather the papers. They remortgaged their house 3 times for her. Dad's working himself to death at 60, and she's spending it all on... A small voice interrupts. Mommy? Emily sits up on her mattress, rubbing her eyes. Are we going to live with Aunt Clara forever? My throat tightens. No, baby. Just until Mommy figures some things out. Is Aunt Lily sick again? The innocent question hits like a punch to the gut. Even my 6-year-old has been conditioned to worry about Lily's health. Emily, sweetheart. Clara steps in. How about some hot chocolate in the kitchen? After they leave, I pull up one last photo on my phone. It's from my wedding day. The only time I've seen Lily genuinely sick. Not from her mysterious chronic illness, but from rage that someone else was the center of attention. The next text from Dad makes my decision for me. Lily's very upset. She needs her big sister. I type back 4 words. She needs to confess. Then I open my laptop and start documenting everything. Every receipt, every bank statement, every social media post that contradicts her medical claims. 7 years of manipulation and lies, carefully cataloged in a growing spreadsheet. They wanted me to be the responsible one. Fine. I'll show them exactly how responsible I can be. My phone lights up one last time. It's Lily. You're just jealous because Mom and Dad love me more. I save the message, add it to my evidence file. Then I text back, enjoy it while it lasts, sis. The truth has a way of coming out. I close my laptop, listening to Emily's distant laughter from the kitchen. For the first time since Ryan died, I feel something other than grief or resentment. I feel powerful. Let them worry about what I'll do next. They've had years of peace while I swallowed their lies. Now it's my turn. The medical billing office smells like disinfectant and secrets. I adjust my name badge, borrowed from Clara's cousin, who works in healthcare administration, and smile at the receptionist. Just need to verify some insurance claims for the Martinez account. 3 years of customer service work taught me how to sound professional, detached. Inside, my heart hammers against my ribs. 20 minutes later, I'm staring at records that confirm everything I suspected. And worse, my phone vibrates. A text from Susan, Emily's nanny. Your mother stopped by the house again, wanted to see Emily. I ignore it, focusing on the screen before me. Lily's treatments at Metropolitan Hospital ended 2 years ago. The specialist she claims to see monthly doesn't exist. But the bills, the massive crushing bills my parents are drowning in, keep coming. Finding everything okay? The receptionist peers over. I nod, snapping photos discreetly with my phone. Just thorough documentation. Back in my car, I call Clara. It's worse than we thought. She's been forging medical documents, creating fake bills. The whole thing is a scam. Jesus. Clara breathes. What are you gonna do? Before I can answer, another call comes in. Dad. I switch back to Clara. I'll call you later. I answer his call, keeping my voice neutral. Yes? Joy, please. He sounds tired, more tired than usual. Your mother's a wreck. Lily's condition is getting worse with all this stress. Is it? The words come out sharp. When was the last time you actually saw her at a doctor's appointment? Silence. That's what I thought. She needs privacy with her medical. Did you know her specialist, Dr. Chen, doesn't exist? That Metropolitan Hospital hasn't treated her in 2 years. More silence. Then, what are you talking about? I have proof, Dad. Real proof. Bank statements, forged documents, everything. Your precious Lily has been... A text interrupts me, from Lily. Back off or I tell them about Ryan. My blood turns to ice. Joy, what proof? What are you? I'll call you back. I hang up, hands shaking as I open Lily's text thread. Me. What about Ryan? Lily. About what really happened that night. About whose fault it really was. The memory hits like a physical blow. Ryan, rushing to the hospital because Lily called, crying, claiming she needed emergency help. The rainy night. The truck he never saw coming. But she wasn't even there when he arrived. She was at a club downtown. I saw the Instagram posts later, time-stamped during her supposed crisis. Me, you wouldn't dare. Lily, try me. Mom and Dad would be devastated to learn their perfect older daughter killed her husband because she was too busy being jealous to tell him I'd called to cancel. My vision blurs. She's twisting it, manipulating the truth like she does everything else. But the guilt I've carried for 3 years, wondering if I should have told Ryan to wait, to verify Lily really needed help, rises up like bile. Another text from Susan. Your mother's still here. She's crying on the front porch. Emily's asking questions. I start the car, hands steady now despite the rage coursing through me. Two can play at manipulation. Me. Funny thing about proof, Lily. I have the club receipts from that night, the Instagram posts, the cell phone records showing you called Ryan for help while you were dancing at Vault. Wonder what mom and dad would think about that. 3 dots appear as she types, disappear, appear again. Lily, you're bluffing. I sent her a screenshot of her own Instagram story from that night. Her, dancing with friends. Timestamp matching exactly when she called Ryan begging for help. Me, want to try that thread again? No response. I drive home, mind racing. She showed her hand too early. Gave me leverage I didn't have before. Classic Lily, always overplaying when she feels cornered. Susan meets me at the door. Your mother left finally. Emily's upset. I find my daughter in her room, clutching the teddy bear Ryan gave her. Grandma said Aunt Lily's really sick, she whispers, that we're being mean to her. I sit on the bed, pulling Emily close. Sometimes people who seem sick are just really good at pretending, baby. Like when I fake a tummy ache to skip school. Something like that. I kiss her head, an idea forming. Hey, remember how Daddy always said the truth sets you free? Emily nods. Well, Mommy's about to set a lot of truth free. I pull out my phone, starting an email to my parents' financial advisor. Subject line, fraud alert, Lily Martinez Medical Expenses, LLC. Time to let the dominoes fall where they may. The financial advisor's response arrives at 3 a.m. I've been refreshing my email every few minutes, watching Emily sleep while my world threatens to implode again. Ms. Martinez, this is a serious matter requiring immediate investigation. I've forwarded your evidence to the relevant authorities. My phone rings. Unknown number. Hello? This is Detective Sarah Morris. We received some concerning documentation about potential financial fraud. My hands shake as I step into the hallway. Yes, I sent those files. We'll need you to come in. There are complications you should be aware of. 2 hours later, I'm sitting in a sterile police station conference room, staring at documents I never expected to see. Your father's signature appears on several of these authorizations. Detective Morris says carefully. He was listed as co-founder of the LLC. The room spins. That's impossible. He wouldn't. The evidence suggests he was aware of the arrangement. Whether he understood the full scope is unclear, but legally speaking, I stop listening. On the table, Dad's signature mocks me. Not forged, not copied. His actual signature on document after document. My phone buzzes. Clara, Emily's asking for you. Everything okay? I text back one word, no. The detective's voice cuts through my haze. There's more. Your sister's fiancé is connected to several similar schemes in 3 states. We've been building a case. The pieces click together with sickening clarity. Dad's signature, Lily's expensive fiancé, the rushed wedding plans. They're planning to run. I need to go. I stand abruptly. My daughter, Ms. Martinez. Detective Morris's voice stops me. If your father was involved unknowingly, coming forward now could help his case. I laugh, hollow. Help his case? He chose this. He chose her. Again. Outside, the morning sun feels like an accusation. I call Clara. Don't let Emily watch the news today, I say, without preamble. Joy, what's happening? I started something I can't stop. Just keep her away from screens, please. I drive to my parents' house, knowing what I'll find. The driveway is empty. The front door stands slightly open. Inside, drawers hang open. Papers litter the floor. On the kitchen counter, a note in my mother's handwriting. She's our daughter, too. My phone rings. Lily, enjoying your revenge? Her voice drips poison. Dad's having chest pains from the stress. But I guess that's what you wanted, right? To destroy everything? Where are you taking them? Taking them. They chose to come. Just like they always choose me. A pause. You know why? Because I need them. You've always been so strong, so independent. The perfect daughter who never needed anything. Except now you need to win, don't you? You're stealing their retirement, their house. I'm giving them purpose. What are you giving them except pain? The line goes dead. I sink onto the kitchen floor, surrounded by the debris of my parents' fled life. A photo album lies open nearby. My wedding day, Ryan smiling, Lily scowling in her bridesmaid dress, Dad looking proud, his arm around me. Dad, who signed those documents, who chose to be complicit. My phone buzzes. Detective Morris, we've flagged their passports. Your sister's fiancé was spotted at Newark Airport. Another text follows. Your parents withdrew everything from their accounts this morning. All of it. I should feel triumphant. This is what I wanted. Lily exposed, their web of lies unraveled. Instead, I feel hollow. The front door creaks. I tense. But it's just Clara. Susan has Emily, she says softly. I thought you shouldn't be alone. I did this, I whisper. I broke everything. No. Clara sits beside me. They broke it long ago. You just stop pretending it wasn't broken. My phone lights up again. Dad, I know what you did. His text reads. But you don't understand. She needs us. She'll die without us. I stare at his words, feeling something shift inside me. Not grief, not rage, something colder. She won't die, I text back. But your retirement might. Your house might. Your freedom might. His response comes quickly. You wouldn't. I think of Emily, waiting at home. Of Ryan, dead because of Lily's lies. Of years of being the responsible one, the strong one, the one they could ignore because I wouldn't break. Watch me, I type, and press send. Detective Morris's words echo in my head as I scroll through Aunt Rachel's Facebook comments. Your sister's operation spans multiple states. This isn't just about family anymore. I click share on another carefully selected photo. Lily at the Ritz, dripping in designer clothes, time-stamped during her supposed hospital stay. The comments roll in immediately, but she was too sick to attend my son's wedding that weekend. Wait, isn't this when Daniel said they needed to borrow money for her treatment? My phone buzzes. A text from Mom's sister. Just saw the posts? Called the hospital she claimed to be at last month. They've never heard of her. The dominoes are falling. One by one. Clara appears in my doorway. Your cousin Marcus called. Says your parents just tried to refinance their beach house through his firm. Did he approve it? No. But Joy... She hesitates. He said your dad was crying. Actually crying. Something twists in my chest. I push it down, focusing on my laptop screen. They made their choice. Did they, or did Lily make it for them? Before I can answer, my phone lights up. Detective Morris again. We've located your sister's fiancé, she says, without preamble. He's agreed to cooperate, claims your parents had no idea about the larger scheme. They knew enough, perhaps, but here's what you need to know. Your sister's pregnant. The world stops. What? 3 months along. She mentioned it during her fiancé's interrogation. Said that's why they needed to leave quickly. I end the call, hands shaking. A baby. Another innocent drawn into Lily's web of manipulation. My laptop pings. An email from Dad's company regarding Daniel Martinez's retirement account. Liquidation request. I open it, scanning quickly. They're trying to cash out his pension. Early withdrawal. Massive penalties. Another text from Aunt Rachel. Gloria's not answering. Rachel's posting about moving abroad. What's happening? I close my eyes, seeing Emily playing in the next room. My daughter, who still asks about her grandparents every night. Who doesn't understand why we can't visit anymore. Clara touches my shoulder. Maybe it's enough. The authorities are involved. Your parents will face consequences naturally. Like they faced consequences all those years. when they drained my college fund for Lily's treatments, when they missed Ryan's funeral, my voice cracks. When they kicked out their granddaughter, my phone buzzes again. Lily, you think you've won. Her voice is strange, tight. You have no idea what you've done. Mom's had 2 panic attacks. Dad's heart condition. But you don't care, do you? You just want your revenge, says the woman stealing their retirement. I'm giving them what they want, a chance to save their daughter, their real daughter. And the baby, is that just another tool for manipulation? Silence. Then, how did your fiancé talked, Lily? It's over. Nothing's over. Her voice hardens. You think you're protecting them. Watch what happens when you take away their reason for living, their chance to be grandparents again. The line goes dead. I stare at my screen, at the mounting evidence of years of deception, at the comments from family members expressing shock, betrayal, anger. Clara reads over my shoulder. Your aunt in Miami says she's calling the police about the money they borrowed last year. Good. Joy. She pauses. What about the baby? I think of Emily, innocent and pure, of how my parents missed her first steps because Lily had a crisis that day. My fingers hover over the keyboard. One more post could destroy everything. The proof of Lily's biggest manipulation yet. The ultimate betrayal of our parents' trust. But a baby. An innocent child who didn't ask for any of this. My phone lights up with a final text from Dad. Please, whatever you're doing, stop. If not for us, for your new niece or nephew. Family should protect family. I laugh bitterly. Family should protect family. Where was that protection when Emily and I needed it? Clara watches me carefully. What are you going to do? I look at the draft post on my screen, at the evidence that would destroy not just Lily's schemes, but any chance of my parents ever breaking free from her. Then I look at Emily's photo on my desk, at her innocent smile, so much like Ryan's. I'm going to protect the only family member who deserves it, I say, and begin to type. Sometimes the best revenge isn't destruction, it's freedom. The police station's fluorescent lights make everything look sickly, unreal. Detective Morris spreads photos across the interview room table. Lily and her fiancé at different banks. My parents signing documents. Account statements showing millions flowing through shell companies. Your sister's fiancé gave us everything, Morris says. But here's the problem. Your parents' signatures are on nearly every document. I stare at the evidence of my family's destruction. They didn't know. They knew enough. She slides another document forward. Your father's fingerprints are on the incorporation papers. Your mother's signature is on wire transfers. We have to treat them as willing participants. My phone vibrates. Aunt Rachel. Gloria's in the hospital. Panic attack. Daniel's not answering calls. The room spins. I grip the table's edge. There's more. Morris continues. Your sister's medical fraud extends to insurance companies across state lines. Federal charges are likely. Another text. Clara. Emily's asking about the news reports. Your parents' pictures are everywhere. I close my eyes, remembering Emily's face this morning when she saw the newspaper. Why is Grandpa crying in that photo, Mommy? The detective's voice cuts through my thoughts. We need your testimony. Against all of them. All of them? Your parents included. They're facing serious charges unless they cooperate fully. My phone lights up again. Dad. They're taking everything. His message reads. The house, the savings, your mother's inheritance. Please, help us. The same words I'd begged them with when Ryan died. When Emily and I needed somewhere to live. Ms. Martinez? Detective Morris presses. We need your decision. Another text arrives. Lily, congratulations. Mom's in cardiac care. The baby's showing signs of distress. Hope you're happy with what you've done. My hands shake as I scroll through the messages. Aunt Rachel sending hospital photos. Clara reporting that Emily's school called. She had a breakdown during class, crying for her grandparents. If they cooperate, I manage. What happens to their charges? Best case? Heavy fines? Probation. Worst case? Prison time. Prison. My 60-year-old father in a cell. My mother, who's never even had a parking ticket. And Lily? She's looking at significant time. Unless your parents take full responsibility. Which, given their pattern of behavior. Of course, even now they'd sacrifice everything for her. For the daughter who's destroying them. My phone buzzes one final time. A photo from the hospital. Mom unconscious in a bed, Dad holding her hand. His message beneath it breaks something inside me. We failed you. We know that now. But please don't let this be how our story ends. Ms. Martinez, Detective Morris's voice seems distant. We need your statement, today. I stare at the photo of my parents, thinking of Emily, of how she'll grow up knowing I sent her grandparents to prison, of the cousin she'll never meet, Lily's baby born behind bars. Can I have a moment? Outside the interview room, I call Clara. How's Emily? Sleeping finally. Joy. She asked if she did something wrong, if that's why her grandparents disappeared like Daddy did. The comparison hits like a physical blow. Ryan's death, Emily's loss, and now this, another trauma I've brought into my daughter's life. What do? I whisper. What you've always done, Clara answers. Protect the ones who need protection. I think of my parents, signing whatever Lily put in front of them. Of Mom in that hospital bed. Of Dad working 3 jobs, thinking he was saving his daughter's life. And Lily, manipulating them all while carrying an innocent child. I return to the interview room. Detective Morris looks up expectantly. I need to revise my statement, I say. You're backing out? No. I take a deep breath. I'm changing the narrative. My parents were victims too. Here's what really happened. Sometimes revenge isn't about destroying your enemies. Sometimes it's about saving them from themselves, even if it means sacrificing your own chance at justice. I begin to speak, weaving a new version of events, one that might save my parents, give my daughter back her grandparents, and ensure Lily's baby has a chance at a normal life. The truth burns in my throat, unspoken, but Emily's words echo in my head. Why did they disappear like Daddy did? Some cycles of trauma have to end, even if I'm the one who has to break them. The hospital corridor stretches endlessly as I approach Lily's room. Through the window, I see her lying in bed, one hand on her swollen belly, our mother hovering nearby. Dad sits in the corner, looking smaller than I've ever seen him. Detective Morris's words echo in my head. Your revised statement bought them time, but we need more. I push open the door. The machine's steady beeping fills the silence. Get out, Mom starts, but Dad raises his hand. Let her speak. Lily's eyes narrow. Come to finish what you started. I place a folder on her bedside table. Actually, I came to save you, all of you. I pull out 3 documents. These are immunity agreements, full cooperation in exchange for reduced charges. We don't need, Lily begins. Your fiancé took a deal this morning. I watch her face pale. He's given them everything, Lily. The fake medical records, the shell companies, the offshore accounts. Mom sinks into a chair. What offshore accounts? The ones holding most of your retirement money. I turn to Lily. Tell them, or I will. She's lying, Lily whispers, but her hand trembles on her belly. Your pregnancy complications, I continue. The doctor you claimed needed specialized payments. He doesn't exist. The hospital has no record of your appointments for the past 2 years. Dad stands suddenly. That's not possible. You spoke to her friends, playing roles. Check your phone records. Every doctor call came from burner phones. Lily, Mom's voice cracks. Tell us she's wrong. Lily's face contorts. You don't understand. I needed, what? I cut in. Designer clothes? Luxury vacations. While Dad worked himself into heart problems to pay for your imaginary treatments. I deserved it. Lily explodes. Do you know what it's like being the sick one, the weak one, always needing help, always being pitied? You weren't sick. The words echo off the hospital walls. You haven't been sick for years. Silence falls. The machines beep steadily. What? Dad whispers. I pull out the final document. Your medical records, the real ones. Your childhood condition resolved after the last surgery, 7 years ago. Mom shakes her head. But the medications, the treatments, vitamins, placebos, ask her what she really spent the money on. Lily's face twists with rage. You self-righteous bitch. At least I gave them purpose. What did you give them? A dead husband? A burden of a grandchild? The words hang in the air like poison. That's enough. Dad's voice is different, harder. Joy. What are these immunity agreements? Sign them. Testify that you were manipulated, deceived. The DA will consider your age, your clean records. I meet Lily's eyes. All of you. Why would you help us? Lily demands. After everything. Not you, them. I gesture to our parents. And your baby. They deserve a chance at something better than your lies. Mom starts to speak, but a doctor appears in the doorway. Excuse me, Ms. Martinez. There's someone here to see you. Emily peeks around the doctor's leg, Clara behind her. My daughter's eyes find mine, then drift to Lily's pregnant belly. Is that my cousin in there? She asks innocently. The room freezes. Lily's hand tightens on her stomach. Mom stifles a sob. Yes, I say softly. And we're all going to make sure they grow up in a better family than we did. I place a pen on the bedside table. Sign the agreements. Take the deal. Or I walk out that door and let the FBI handle it. Dad moves first, reaching for the pen. Mom follows. They both look at Lily. Please, Mom whispers. For your baby. Lily stares at her stomach, then at Emily. Something shifts in her expression. The first real emotion I've seen from her in years. I never meant, she starts, then stops, picks up the pen. As they sign, Emily slips her hand into mine. Can we go home now, Mommy? I squeeze her hand, watching my family sign away their secrets, their lies, their decades of manipulation. Yes, baby, we can all go home. Sometimes revenge isn't about destroying your enemies. Sometimes it's about forcing them to face the truth. And sometimes, in facing that truth, you find a way to build something new from the ashes of what was lost. The nursery walls are a soft yellow, catching the morning light. I watch Lily rock her daughter, her hospital bracelet still on her wrist, 3 days old. And already Sophie has brought more honesty to this family than decades of confrontation. She has Ryan's eyes, Lily whispers, not looking up. I never noticed before, but Emily does too. The immunity deals saved our parents from prison, but the restitution payments will keep them working well past retirement. Dad's taken a consulting job. Mom's selling her antiques collection. They're learning to live with less and with truth. Joy. Lily's voice breaks. That night, when Ryan, don't. I need to say it. She meets my eyes. I called him because I was drunk, scared of driving home. But then my friends offered a ride, and I forgot to call back. I never thought. The confession hangs between us like smoke. All these years, I'd imagined something more dramatic, more malicious. The truth is worse, a careless moment that destroyed lives. Emily appears in the doorway, clutching her backpack. Ready for school, Mommy. Say goodbye to your cousin, I tell her. She approaches the rocking chair carefully. Lily tenses, then relaxes, as Emily gently touches Sophie's hand. I'll teach her everything, Emily promises solemnly, like how to color inside the lines and which swings go highest. Lily's eyes fill with tears. I'd like that. The doorbell rings. Our parents, right on schedule. They've been staying in a small apartment nearby, learning to navigate this new reality where their daughters are both strong and broken in different ways. Mom enters first, her designer clothes replaced by department store basics. We brought breakfast and paperwork. Dad adds, holding up a folder. The financial advisor has a plan for paying everyone back. Lily stiffens. I told you, I'll get a job as soon as… No, Dad cuts in. This is our responsibility. We enabled everything. It's time we face that. I watch them gather around Lily and Sophie, their voices soft, their movements hesitant, as if they're all learning a new language of family. Clara texts, Court date confirmed. Lily's fiancé took the full plea deal. I delete it without responding. Some details don't need sharing. Some wounds need silence to heal. Joy. Mom touches my arm. We were thinking, there's that empty retail space next to Dad's new office. Perfect for a small business. If you still want to open that bookstore, the offer hangs there. Not a manipulation, not a debt, but a bridge. I'll think about it, I say. Emily tugs my sleeve. Can we show Sophie my room before school? Careful, Lily calls as Emily leads me away. She's still learning to trust. We all are. In Emily's room, surrounded by stuffed animals and crayon drawings, my daughter turns to me. Is Aunt Lily still sick? Not in her body, I answer carefully. But sometimes people get sick in their hearts. They forget how to be honest. Like when I said I didn't eat the cookies. Something like that. I smooth her hair. But she's getting better. We all are. Through the wall, we hear Sophie crying. Then Lily's gentle shushing. Mom's voice joins in. Then Dad's quiet laugh. They sound happy, Emily observes. They're learning to be real, I tell her. It's harder than being happy sometimes. She considers this wise beyond her years. Is that why you're not angry anymore? The question stops me. I think of the evidence still in my desk drawer, the power I still hold over Lily's future, the choice I make every day not to use it. I'm choosing something better than anger, I say finally. Emily nods, satisfied. Like how you chose to let Grandma and Grandpa come back. Exactly. Sophie's cries quiet. In their place, I hear Lily singing. The same lullaby Mom used to sing to us both, before illness and lies divided us. Time for school, I say. But Emily's already heading back to the nursery, drawn by the song, by the imperfect harmony of our healing family. I follow her, watching from the doorway, as 3 generations of Martinez women gather around a new beginning. Not a happy ending. Those don't exist in real families. But maybe something stronger, something true.